Well, hey there, all you triathlon freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon. On today's show, we have a bunch of different topics. I've been messing around with ketones, exogenous ketones, powders. That's the stuff that when you go into ketosis, when you've gone so low carb that your body starts burning body fat 100% for your energy. That's what your body fat turns into, and your body fuels off of that. It's a really bizarre chemical. It's made by your body, but anyway, they can make it in a lab as well. And it's been the latest thing, and I've tried out 2 different companies worth, and we're going to talk about how I've used it on some workouts and also just throughout the day, about how it suppresses appetite and how it gives you energy, what it seems to do, and then also maybe what it doesn't do, and we'll give you some tips on that. And also, let's see, we have a little bit of news about Jordan Rapp and Norseman. We've got something about Kung Fu nuns biking their own kind of version of almost like the Tour de France, but in the Himalayan mountains. And also some news on the Tokyo Olympics. Got a mixed relay coming, mixed gender. And also, I have some solutions for you. If you ever notice that your skin is itchy after you start working out, really itchy for a while, almost like hives, and then it kind of goes away after you almost scratch yourself to death. That's actually a thing. I've got it. I did some research and figured out what it is, and I'm going to share that with you. Also, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to use LED lights, blue LED. Well, they're white, but actually they're a form of blue. And it's this thing where people are all concerned that they keep you up late at night. And actually, it's not that bad. And second of all, you can actually use it to your advantage, and also how to use an LED light in your training cave to cut down on heat, to stay cool. And also a little tip on green tea and why green tea is different than coffee and how it keeps you going longer and stronger with no crash. There's a certain chemical in it that does that. And then also there's somebody doing a research project for her PhD, and she's got an email call out there for people to get in touch with her. So all that plus a whole lot more in the ZenTri podcast. Here we go.
You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
All right, ZenTri Samurai. Let's get down to business. First, I have not introduced myself in many, many episodes, so I thought I would do that real quickly. Why are you listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon? Well, this is the podcast that is put on by somebody that actually does long distance training and racing. And I go through what it takes to get it done, both physically and mentally. And we are literally and figuratively on the bleeding edge of research. And it's like, if we're going to get to it in a little bit, people are trying to do research projects on us. So any information that we can share with those of us that have been through it and have a lot of experience can share with those of you that are trying to figure it out. It helps build the community, and it helps more of us figure it out, because it's actually less complicated than you think in certain areas, but there's some tips that are just crucial. And that's what I do. My history is, I think it's 15 Ironmans. About 10 or 12 of those are self-supported, completely solo, bringing all my own gear and doing it all myself, which is harder than doing an actual Ironman. And then also swam 22 miles across Lake Tahoe. Non-stop. Lake Tahoe is 22 miles across from south to north, and a friend and I swam it with a support boat, and it's at over 6,000 feet elevation, and that's 1 mile longer than the English Channel, and it's freshwater, so you don't float as well. There are no sharks, But I also have asthma and high altitude coming from, I live at sea level. I live at 200, 300 feet above sea level. And I just went up there and swam across it. So that was difficult. And run a 100-mile ultra trail run. And I've run the 50-mile, and this is in the woods on rolling terrain, and 50-mile also, and a bunch of times on the 50-miler. And also, I've done a 100-mile mountain bike race, and I'm trying to think of something else crazy that I've done. We did Ragnar 200-mile relay with just a 4-man team, and I've swam open water butterfly nonstop across 2.4 miles. And also I've swam butterfly across La Jolla Cove, across and back, which is, I think it's like a mile each way, in rolling saltwater surf. And that's just a short list of the incredibly stupid and crazy things that I've done. And I've got my eyes on lots more things. So I am your host here to spill the details on how you can do this too. I grew up as, an average kind of like athletic guy. I was really into swimming, obviously, and but I am not talented at the long distance stuff. But over time, I've just kind of buckled down and paid a lot of attention to how to do it, from interviews and that I've done or have listened to with other pros, and kind of figured out a whole bunch of this stuff, and I just want to share it with everybody because it is a beautiful world, being an endurance athlete. So to share it with you guys is awesome. And let's quit allowing myself to introduce myself, and let's get on to some cool stuff that is going on. To get away from me, let's talk about Jordan Rapp for a second. Jordan Rapp has been interviewed on this show maybe twice. He's one of the top pro Ironman racers, and he's got an engineering background, which I like because we use a lot of science and engineering to on this show to figure out why certain things work and why you should do one thing versus another. I've got a Bachelor of Science and a Master's of, it's kind of like Science, Masters of Ag, from a major research university, Texas A&M University, and that's my hobby. I work in computer science, I work in IT, and engineering and science is what pays the bills, and it's actually what works. So a lot of what I figured out to bring myself up to the level of being an ultra-endurance athlete is science and engineering, and that's why we like Jordan Rapp. And Jordan is going to do something really different. I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say, it's kind of not concerned because it's a natural process, as the Canadians say, but he might be kind of fading out of the limelight of this prime of just a high-end, super turbo, hyper-performance guys, and kind of backing off that a little bit because he is doing a non-Ironman brand race. He's doing the Norseman triathlon, which I think it's Norway. It's not, it's got to be Norway, not Finland. And they jump off of a ferry. It is, but in Texas we call it butt ass cold. We got a lot of other words for it. And then it's basically an Ironman, but you have support crews on the bike, and then it's a run up a mountain all in Norway, and it's pretty brutal. It's one of those extreme races. They've started trying to do one like it in Alaska, and then but the Norseman one is famous. And also, I'm trying to think. Swissman, Celtman is the other two versions of these things. The SOS triathlon is kind of like a long half, and I've done that a couple times, and and that's in upstate New York, mid-state New York. Anyway, it's really cool to see him doing this race, and it's because they don't have many pros that do it, and it's already got plenty of attention. It sells out really quickly, but it'll be cool to see what he does. And he's sponsored by Diamondback, and they have that crazy Andean bike the one that looks like a Ducati. And will he be riding that because the bike ride has got a lot of hill climbing? Will he do it because he's sponsored by them? And I think he kind of works for Diamondback now too. And it's something to keep your eye on. So keep your eye on that. All right, let's talk about ketones. So you've undoubtedly heard about the keto diet. And this is where, if you ever, my first real experience with this stuff is not eating so that I could do a colonoscopy, right? So you can't eat for 24 hours and you get really, really hungry. And after 4 or 5, 6 hours, actually the hunger kind of subsides. It's really weird. And then you're weak, but you're not really hungry anymore. And there's this whole thing, well, you need carbs to survive, right? Well, actually you don't. What happens is once your body's depleted of carbs, which you only have like 2,000, I think you only between 1,000 and 2,000 calories of carbs stored, which gives you about an hour and a half of workout time. And that's why a lot of people bonk about an hour and a half, 2 hours in to stuff. Then your body switches over to a different form of metabolism. As it starts burning primarily body fat, the body fat releases something called ketones. And it's a completely different type of fuel. It's got more caloric punch to it than fat even, than protein, carbs, or fat. And that's a big claim. I don't know how much more, is it like twofold? Is it whatever? But anyway, it's not the point. Well, it is kind of the point. That gap, I was explaining this to somebody today. The gap in when you run out of carbs and then when your body switches over to burning body fat, if you never do it, if you hardly ever do it and then you do it, it's very painful because your body thinks it's dying. If you do it frequently, then it actually, I guess it's your mitochondria are become used to burning, to seeing ketones and using them. So they're more efficient at processing them, and then you can pick up that energy source and use it, and the gap becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then so you can be what they call metabolically flexible and go back and forth and not be so dependent on carbs. And actually, there's a test you can do where they put you on a treadmill, put a mask over you, and you run, and I guess you could bike too, and it can tell from your off-gassing, by your exhalation. Carbs, if you're burning carbs for energy, then that makes up one kind of chemical. And if you're burning when you're out on your out breath, and if you're burning fat for energy, it's making up another chemical. And so as you breathe out, they have this mask on you, and it's a hose to a machine, and then it calculates what percentage, it can tell what percentage at your effort levels. You're doing a 1 out of 10, a 5 out of 10 effort, a 9 out of 10, like on a treadmill. Then it can tell what percentage of your fuel, of your energy is coming from carbs or from body fat. And you should do this test fasted a little bit, so you've got no fuel in your stomach. It's coming from your body, what's stored in your body. And I've been tested years ago, and I was a very high carb burner. And they said, yeah, you can go about, and if you burn through your carbs really fast, like I was, my metabolism was doing, then you run out of stored energy really fast, and you can't switch over to burning body fat because your body isn't used to using body fat. Your demand for carbs is so high, and then when you run out of carbs, it's kind of like you have a really big carb motor, and then when the motor runs, and it's very fuel inefficient, and then when it runs out of carbs, it goes, and chokes out. So the alternative is, the other end of the spectrum is somebody that doesn't burn hardly any carbs at all, and they burn body fat at the same speed the same body weight, they're the same height, everything as you, but at a 9-minute mile, they're burning. You're burning almost all of your energy from carbs, and they're burning almost all of their energy from body fat. The thing is you have like 30,000 calories or some ridiculous number. You can run, I think it's like 20 marathons in a row or something like that on your own body fat, even if you're really skinny. And so the theory is to get more and more used to burning your own body fat for fuel. And it's doable by your diet. So how you eat while sitting around mostly, and then also a little bit how you eat while training, teaches your body to quit being so dependent on carbs. And that's why everybody's trying to get away from carbs all the time. And also, the more carbs you eat just all day long, the more your body becomes numb to carbs through insulin resistance. Insulin helps you burn off the carbs. And the more carbs you take in, the more insulin it takes. But your body, your cells in your body go, insulin again, and it gets numb to it. And that's how people develop type 2 diabetes. So it's like, you think a normal person is like, somebody that's fat playing around video games all day long and drinking Cokes and eating potato chips and candy, right? It's constant exposure to sugar. It's not really the sugar so much, it's the insulin taking the sugar, and the pancreas, which generates the insulin, and the insulin itself just gets tired and your body gets numb to it. And it takes more and more and more insulin to get the job done until it just completely blows out. And that's it in a nutshell. And I know all this because my wife is actually type 1 diabetic, and that's where she picked up a autoimmune disorder where her body attacked her own pancreas due to no eating disorder or anything like that. She was eating fine. It's just a thing. And so I know a lot about the diabetes stuff. So we get back to ketones. So the gap, especially if you're really carb dependent, trying to get off of carbs and get into using either really low carb and a lot of fat, which some people say hovering around that line is actually pretty miserable. You ought to just either go into ketosis, and that's where you've switched over to, it's really low carb to the point where your body goes, you know what, I'm going to just go off of ketones now. And then moving over to that area is painful. They call it the keto flu. You feel like shit. And over the past, starting about 5 years ago, companies started making in labs ketones to kind of expose your body to them and get used to them, and then your mitochondria get used to using them, and then you're like, oh, it's not that bad. And you can start dropping the carbs needed because you have energy and you feel pretty good because of the ketones that you've been exposing yourself to. So they used to be really expensive, and now they're just kind of expensive. And I've been on a quest trying, now that they're cheaper, I can actually buy some and start using them. And I feel like they've kind of ironed out the issues here. And that reminds me, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I would consider myself a nutrition, I wouldn't say expert, but aficionado. I know a lot about nutrition, but I'm not degreed or anything like that. So anything you hear on this podcast about me talking about stuff messing around with nutrition, I want you to remember two things. Is one, there's a good chance that I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I think I do. And two, your metabolism is not something to mess around with. I've done that. I've done like extreme kind of metabolism stuff, and it is dangerous. You can mess up your thyroid, and that's what regulates your hormone system, because you stress out your thyroid, and that stress on your thyroid can shut your thyroid down. It could screw it up. So if you hear anything on the show that you want to try, make sure you listen to other podcasts with a grain of salt about ketosis and how to do it in ketosis for athletes. And we aren't just normal athletes. We are triathletes, which means we burn a high rate of carbs. We need way more carbs than the average person. So we can't do low carb like other people our low carb is a lot higher than other people's low carb, and that's a fact. So that disclaimer out of the way. You mess around with this stuff, just be cautious. I don't want to say you're playing with fire, but be cautious. And one thing that I heard that was really, really interesting that kind of changed my mindset on this is people have the wrong mindset. And this works for any kind of nutrition. I hate the word diet, but this is any kind of nutrition angle. Is you try it and don't consider, let's say you try to go vegan, right? Or no cheese, or you're trying to do, you want to go fruitarian, all fruit, all the time. Or you want to, eat a leaf of kale every day, just something. Then you don't consider it failure if you try it and then you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore, right? Don't say that you failed and that you can't do it ever again. No, the right way to do it is, oh, I did it for 3 days, and then now you're taking a break. And the next time you're going to try to do it for a few more days, like 4 or 5 days, and then and either it'll take for good, or you'll be like, oh, after you try it again. But each time that you do something like this, your taste buds, your mitochondria, and all that stuff get more and more adapted. So it's easier every time. So it's kind of like running. The first time you go out and run, you're training for a marathon, you don't run an entire marathon, right? You run like a mile, and then you go, man, that sucked. And then you go, okay, next time you go out and run, you run a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer, and a little bit longer. And then after some time, you're actually like a runner and you run all the time, and it's just like a daily thing, and you don't think about it anymore, right? So that's good mindset. All right, let's get down to the ketones. Oh my God. So after listening to a lot of interviews and podcasts about different ones, I settled on trying this one brand called Perfect Keto. And it's not cheap. It was $60-something for 15 servings. The container showed up, and I'm like, that's it? And even though I kind of knew that. But anyway, I got the chocolate sea salt one, and I talk about it later in the training log, I think. And I actually like this one. This one really seemed to work. I had almost instant energy, like within 15 minutes, and was kind of bouncing off the walls. Like, whoa, this is really, really weird. Now, if you take it, you're supposed to take it to help you ease into ketosis and going, no carb. But also, athletes are known to be taking this stuff lately on top of carbs, because it's a whole other extra source of energy. So let's say you're in a race and you want to double up, on your power, your output, because you're doing something fast. Then, hey, this supposedly you could do that. All right. Anyway, the thing about ketones is ketones taste like shit. They taste like gasoline mixed with lighter fluid, mixed with what's a Comet? The stuff you scrub. I used to scrub a bathtub with when I was a kid. So it tastes pretty damn nasty, and they're doing their best, and they just naturally taste that way. There's nothing they can do about it, apparently. But this one's chocolate sea salt flavor, so they've added salt, and I'll get that in a second. Stevia, which is a sweetener, chocolate, a little bit of chocolate, and citric acid. And I figured out this is like $4 a serving. Now, the other thing is, I think ketones are, they're unstable, like electrically. I forgot. Their electrical chemical bond is unstable, and they want to attach to something. So salt, they mix it with some kind of salts, and then they bond to the salts. And salt's good if you're going low carb anyway, because it helps you retain water that you're going to pee out if you go low carb. And there's apparently another flavor of this called peaches and cream, which I have not tried. Now, I got to say, after a couple of doses of using this, I totally got over the flavor and was actually craving it. So, and mixed it with coffee. the chocolate one. And this stuff works. It works really, really well. I noticed if I was just taking it during the day, then suppressed appetite a little bit, wasn't hungry. And then if I took it with a workout, I felt like I could breathe a whole lot better. This stuff reduces oxygen requirement of your body, and you can breathe a whole lot better, which is really bizarre. Okay. So then I was upset at how much this costs because this stuff is awesome and I want to keep using it. But I started searching around, and it seems like from the same lab, but it's a different company, is another brand that was like half the price. And I've taken it twice now. Oh, I did a 3-hour bike ride on the original stuff, that Perfect Keto, and I felt kind of weak. But also, the mood enhancement. Oh my gosh, it is dramatic. Like you feel like you've taken a Xanax, but you're not dopey. You just feel good and positive, and everything's cool. But instead of like marijuana or something like that, where like you feel like that, but also you don't want to do anything, you feel good and everything else, but also you have energy. Like you just ate sugar or something like that. You're just like, whoa, this is really, really cool. Okay. Now, the one I'm trying next is Ketones from Julian Bakery. And this is the Orange Burst, caffeine free. And I gotta admit, I like this flavor a lot. This is more like a kind of a citrus Gatorade kind of flavor. And this was almost half the price. So I got 30 servings for $70, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that that it starts working better, and I'll update the next podcast if it actually does. So I've tried different strategies with this stuff, and I had a PR in my swim. I swam almost a 118 per 100 yards pace for an hour. So 4,550 yards in 1 hour flat. And again, 4,550 yards in an hour flat. And I couldn't believe it. So the energy is definitely there. The thing is, when you first start taking it, it kind of, if you're not used to it, it can kind of make you feel sick to your stomach. So they say the first time you ever take it, take like half a serving. And then work your way up. Another tip is to make it, if you take it just by itself, it'll hit you and then it'll go away in like an hour or so. And the recommendation is to mix it with MCT oil or MCT powder, which is a medium chain triglyceride, which is coconut oil really. And that slows it down. And actually MCT oil turns into ketones itself on its own. And also the Ketones, the second one, this orange one that I'm looking at, has, it's got some amino acids in it, which is really good. It's got taurine, monk fruit. Yeah. Anyway. So, I'll have more on the next episode. I'm a big fan of this stuff. And after messing around with different things, the current thing I'm going to try is I work out about twice a day. And you can take it up to 3 times a day. And I'm going to try it for my workouts and see if I can do workouts without any fuel. And see if that speeds up my fat burning. I gotta say, man, the mood boost is just, whoa, it's awesome. I love that. Okay, and let's move on to something else. Where'd it go? We have the Kung Fu Nuns. Oh my gosh. Hundreds of nuns, I think it's like 400 nuns, are... Oh man, the article got taken away, got taken down. Anyway, they're biking for like the 4th year in a row. across the Himalayas to raise awareness of human trafficking and girls' rights, women's rights in the area, in like Nepal. And they are from a Buddhist sect where their leader, who's the really famous one right now? I forgot his name. Anyway, where their leader is said, hey, women can be monks too, and if a woman's a monk, then they're a nun. That's what they call them. And also to up their safety to keep them, to keep them personally safe. He also let them train and encourage them, I guess, to train in martial arts. So you've got nuns that know how to do kung fu and are also riding hundreds of miles in the Himalayas, riding out there, raising money for cause. And it just really makes you think, it gives you kind of a Zen moment, like, wow, that is really amazing. And what people can do when you give them permission and is just amazing. So many people are held back by ourselves or held back by others, saying you can't do something, and we all want to do amazing stuff. And let's see, in the Olympics, I think it's 2020 in Tokyo, we have something really interesting happening, a mixed relay in the triathlon. And what it looks like it'll be, I don't know what distance it is, if it's a sprint or Olympic distance, but they're doing one gender first does all of the swim and then the bike and then the run, and then they hand off or they tag team or something the other gender, right? And I don't know if they're going to force it like all, it's all girls first or all boys first, and then the other gender does the second half, or what, how they're actually going to do it. But it's really exciting, and they're doing this in addition to the main triathlon, the regular Olympic triathlon. And what's interesting is there's theories on like who are they going to. It is a medal, it goes towards medal counts, which people seem to be fascinated with. But are they going to do it before or after the regular triathlon? And it seems like if it's just dependent on two people, so somebody could pick up somebody else's slack, they might do it second, because it's not as quite as important in a weird way as the original triathlon. All right, we have a medical update. Check this out. I've noticed for years that sometimes when I start running or biking, my skin starts itching. And it itches really, really badly. And I looked it up finally, after all these years, and it's a condition that some people have, where if you warm up too quickly, your body heats up too quickly, your histamine receptors, I guess, overreact to the temperature change, and it's like an allergic reaction. It's like having hives, like if you have a pollen allergy and it makes your skin red and itchy. It's or like poison ivy kind of thing. It's like it's the exact same thing. And I can tell you that a good way for me to get it is I'm inside where it's cold, and then I go outside where it's hot, and I start running fast. My body heats up really quickly, right? The cold temperature from inside to the warm temperature, then add on top of that, exercising really hard, start heating up, and I will start itching. I itched today running a little bit. But what's so cool is knowing what's causing it. So the cure is to take longer to transition into a warm environment, and then take longer to get up to your full effort. Don't try to be running as fast as you can, as soon as you can. Or, man, indoors on the bike is one that gets me. And the thing is, this is actually a really nice upside. you can improve actually your training by warming up slower and taking your time warming up. It improves your fat burning too. And we all should be doing this. So I've noted, once I learned this a few weeks ago, and I've been implementing it, taking my time warming up, I've been having better workouts anyway. And I'm like, man, sometimes every cloud has a silver lining, every yin and has its yang. And I'm like, this is actually nice that I can see the positive side of this. It's slowing me down to start off. And it works. It's absolutely crazy that it actually works. If I take my time warming up and I make sure I stay cool longer, my skin doesn't itch and at all. It's really weird. Okay, let's see. We also have, check this out, blue LED lights. Okay, if you can remember, LED lights have not been around forever. And LED flashlights and all that stuff. So a long time they were blue and red and green. And then they kind of figured out that with blue, I remember this was about 15 years ago. With blue, they figured out if they mess with the blue a lot, that the blue can appear kind of white. And because that was the big barrier, is how to make white LED lights. And so finally they did it, but you can't tell. You might be able to tell, but a white LED light is actually blue. And it's just been modified so much. It looks white, but there's a very slight tint of blue. Now, what this does is it messes up your energy levels. If your eyes, being that we're animals, we see blue, just a tint of blue, then we're like, blue sky, it's time to wake up. Which is a problem. We've got LED computer screens now and LED lights in houses, and they're saying, oh man, it's like the worst thing ever. It's like smoking cigarettes with your eyes. You're all going to die. And it's really not that bad, but it is real. I think you can get kind of used to it and it doesn't bother you anymore. You don't even think about it. But blue sky means like, let's get up and let's go do things. And so there's these things that change your sky, your colors of your monitor, kind of more orangey. I've got it on my phone, for example. Helps you just fall asleep better. Well, that's all great, but I've noticed that if I get up in the morning, I want to get on the bike or I want to get on the treadmill in my training room, which I'm sitting in right now. We've got a bike and a treadmill and 3 fans. We got the ceiling fan. We got a big fan on a stand, and then a desktop fan that's also on the ground. And get up, 4:30 in the morning, start getting your stuff together, and get on the bike, get on the treadmill, and you're kind of dopey and tired. I go in my training room in here and surf the internet for a little bit and drink a cup of coffee. And with this LED light that we bought and put in here, it wakes me up a whole lot better, right? So now I'm using engineering. I'm like, I'm going to take a bat and use it for good, kind of like the itchy thing. And it really works. It's pretty nice. And on top of that, we moved into this house. The light in the room is attached to the ceiling fan, and it's one of these overly fancy ceiling fans that has 4 light bulbs hanging off the bottom of it. These are big in Texas, these ceiling fans, because it's so hot. So a ceiling fan can cool a room by like 10 degrees with very little electricity because of the breeze it makes. And in Texas, we need that because it's so hot. And the thing is 4 light bulbs. They're like 60-watt light bulbs. Light bulb regular. They are incandescent light bulbs. Well, when you that they're actually really hot. So when you try to unscrew one that's on, it burns your fingers. That's hot, and so hot to the point of, they said that one thing that people don't understand if they live where it's cold, that replacing your incandescent light bulbs with what are the compact fluorescents or these LED light bulbs, you're losing a source of heat throughout your house. They're actually little heaters. they're all distributed throughout your house is going to be colder in the winter because of these things. So maybe in the winter, leave them and switch them out to the more energy efficient stuff in the summer. Okay, but this is a big tip right here, along with helping you wake you up. I'm sitting right under this fan on my bike. I got 4 light bulbs over me, and knowing physics and knowing science and engineering, I'm sitting here going, you can't really tell, while you're on the bike riding, because you don't know any different. You don't have anything to compare it to. There's only the one room. But I'm like, these things are generating heat. This fan is blowing the heat onto me. This is stupid. Why am I using a fan that's blowing heat? All right? It's counterproductive while I'm sweating to death in a room trying to ride this bike directly under it. So one of the first things I did when we moved in is I told Emily, we need to replace these light bulbs with LED. And I argued with her about it. She's like, why would you want to do that? And I'm like, you don't understand. These things are hot, and it's generating a lot of heat. And I could, if I really felt for it, I could feel it. And that was with I'd unscrewed all the light bulbs except for one. And I could feel that one light bulb generating heat and being blown on me just a little bit. And then, so I went to the hardware store, got a 100-watt LED light bulb, which I do not recommend. The thing is like really bright. It was overkill. And I screwed that in. And so now this thing has a 1 LED light bulb. It has 1 LED in it. It's 100 watt. But it's cool to the touch. You can actually unscrew it and screw it back in with your bare hand, right? And so when I can tell. I'm sitting here pedaling on a bike, and I can tell that it's actually cooler. So for those of you out there that are looking for ways to keep your training room cool, if you haven't switched out to an LED lighting in your training cave yet, that is a major upgrade, because the lights are heating up the room otherwise if you don't change them out, if you're using incandescents. Oh, we got an alert. So, that was an interesting email. And then, let's see. Let's do one more, and then I need to take a break and do some coaching. Green tea. What is it about green tea that everybody's like, this is so great? Well, actually, it has a chemical in it called L-theanine, which actually you can go buy at the grocery store in the vitamins area, which I've done. And L-theanine is an amino acid that occurs naturally in green tea. Probably all teas, but very strongly in green tea. Okay, so now coffee doesn't have this. And so the caffeine in coffee, or like a Coke, especially a Coke, but like a Diet Coke or whatever, just regular caffeine, spikes you and then crashes you, right? Well, green tea has a special property with this. What L-theanine does in it is it levels out the caffeine. It has an effect. It's got a stabilizing effect with the caffeine. And it actually, if you just take L-theanine, it's really weird. If you take it without caffeine, L-theanine relaxes you. If you take it with caffeine, it helps you focus. But without, it eliminates the jitter of regular caffeine, and that's in coffee. So what I've noticed is I've made green tea, cups of green tea, several cups, and then made that into my bike bottle for long workouts. Or I've used it, on runs and stuff. Let it chill and then use it. Or you can get green tea powder or green tea supplements or whatever. And it's really interesting. It gives you energy for your workout or whatever you're doing. But it doesn't give you jitters. So it's one thing I really recommend. Your next workout where you're going to go for a long bike ride, make green tea in a coffee mug in the microwave. Heat up some water, and green tea you brew for like 4 minutes. And make a couple cups of green tea, let it chill, and then pour it into your bike bottle. And then mix your fuel, your maltodextrin, your ketones, or whatever you got in there, and then use that as the water, or mix it in with your water somehow on your next long bike ride, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that. And then notice the difference of like how it makes you feel compared to caffeine. Like if you had caffeine in your gels, if you're doing coffee or something like that, you feel really good and energy, but no like jittery high. And you might even miss the jittery high, except for like you'll notice you have a really positive attitude. And what it is, it's the L-theanine. And L-theanine is actually really cheap. And you can, like I said, you can go to the grocery store and buy it. You can go to GNC and buy it. You can go to all different kinds of places and buy it. All right, let's take a break from this, bring you a little sponsor note, and we'll be back in a minute. Hold on. All right, we are back. Woo, man, just came in from a run, and we're going to do some sponsors here, but don't forget, after the sponsors, I'm going to talk about Chrissie Wellington, the 4-time Ironman world champion who never lost an Ironman, doing her first Ultramarathon, and also the just a quick blurb about the woman who cheated by deflating a competitor's tires at Syracuse 70.3. It's in all the news. I have a little bit of an opinion on that you might find interesting. A little bit of reading into the apology that tells you about people's true feelings and such, and where they're really at. So hang around after the sponsor biz here. But, and we'll get to that. But let's see. We have Salt Stick. Okay, so Salt Stick, it's very, 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 very important that you add electrolytes to your water. If you do customized fuel or you do no fuel and just water, being able to add your own electrolytes at the amount that you want is really, really important. If you don't have electrolytes in your water and you just drink plain water, it'll run through you and actually pull your electrolytes out with it by, I think it's by osmosis. It goes, oh, I'm going to take this I'm going to pull electrolytes out. And so you want electrolytes in there. And it's really easy to do with Salt Stick. They sell capsules, and also the capsules you can break open very easily and add as much or as little as you want to your fuel. I do at least one an hour. In my fuel, I make a 3-hour fuel bottle. I'll add 3 capsules that I open up and spill the contents into the water so it mixes like really easily. Or you can just take them one at a time. And the really cool thing about Salt Stick is that it's not just salt. It's not sodium chloride, table salt. It's actually a whole lot of potassium, magnesium, and all this other stuff. And what they're doing what nobody else does, and that is make their electrolyte balance the exact same ratios of stuff that you sweat out. If you sweat out, I'd have to look up at the graph, but let's say you sweat out 40% sodium chloride, then theirs is actually 40% sodium chloride. If then 10% is potassium, then theirs is 10% potassium, and that's actually really cool. So you're matching, putting in what's going out. Because if you just put salt back in it, you're actually not replacing all the other stuff that you're sweating out. It's really important, and it really works. There was a study where researchers took a bunch of triathletes and gave half of them the Salt Stick capsules, and the other half just regular sports drink. And the athletes that took the Salt Stick capsules finished a 70.3 race and an average of 26 minutes faster than the control group. And that's those extra electrolytes in there in the correct ratios. And I came up with this logo. They're going to have to run with this. This motto, this mantra is make your water stick with Salt Stick. How about that? Oh, so you can get 25% off your order with a discount code. So if you go to saltstick.com, right, easy to do, /ZenTri, then you can get to a pop-up that goes, hey, what's the password to get to this super cool site? It's all about Brett and Zen and the Art of Triathlon because we love him so much. And you go, guess what the password is? It's ZenTri. All one word, ZenTri is the password to the website called ZenTri. So saltstick.com /ZenTri, password is ZenTri. And that gets you in 25% off. And even if you live out of the country and you can't purchase it, you can't do shipping and stuff like that through that site, you still can find a salt stick dealer at shopsaltstick.com. Man, I have trouble speaking today. And that is the place where you can find a store locator. And on it, you can see 30 countries where they have Salt Stick. All right. Thank you, Salt Stick, man. I put that in my water bottle last week, and I had an epic ride. All right. Let's see. Amrita. Amrita is they make bars that are kind of like Lar bars, but way better. They have, they're date-based, and then they add in all this extra stuff that's like protein and everything. But anyway, they don't use nuts. They use seeds. So if you have a nut allergy, then it's you're not going to have a problem with these. It's really, really cool. And also they have ones that are high in protein. And also they use cardamom, which is a spice in them that Christine Lynch, Holistic Guru is her name, informed me. And she's 100% right. It actually soothes the stomach. So it's easier to digest stuff. Honestly, you should be taking cardamom during races if you want to soothe your stomach and not get sick. And let's see, easy to digest. Oh, I just ate one just a few minutes ago, a protein one, because I just went on a run. And so it's like a recovery bar. They're all natural. They're vegan. They're gluten-free. All that stuff. It's super easy to digest, like I said, and they taste amazing. And yeah, they're kind of chewy a little bit, which is easier to eat. And they're really low in allergens, or they're allergen free, so that reduces inflammation, which helps you recover faster. So you can get 20% off with a discount code to the Amrita Club. So you can go amritahealthfoods.com/product/Amrita-club. And Kai's walking down the hallway out here. I'm in the training cave again. And he's trying to get Kona, our big black lab, to go to bed with him. A boy and his dog. And dogs. Let's see. Yeah, you can get a nice discount. I think there's a Zen 2017, but I'm not sure about that. But that's okay. Just do the club and get 20% off. And they have, the discount code is Amrita Team 2017. There it is. I knew it was in here somewhere. I'm looking at my show notes. 25% off anything on our site, anytime. Bam. They got the best kits. I try not to wear my kit too much because I want it to last forever because it's so cool looking. And socks, all kinds of good stuff. All right, so that's Amrita. Let's do a little bit more news that popped up. I forgot to mention it at the top of the show, but this is a really big deal. Chrissie Wellington, 4-time Ironman world champion, she retired from Ironman 2014, I guess, 2013. I can't remember. But anyway, she's so competitive, and I met her one time on the track in Boulder, and she was intense. Her and Jody Swallow, and I'm trying to remember somebody else. I've heard a story about Angela Nath during a race being like psycho intense, and but in person, like, she's super, super sweet. I'm trying to think of anybody else that comes off the top of my head, like viciously intense in training. And I think she retired because she didn't want to tear up her body. You get so competitive and you want to win so bad, and if that's your drive, you can actually, wreck your body doing this stuff. So I think one of the my opinion is one of the reasons she retired was to chill the F out, worried about herself. All this stuff can lead to eating disorders and stuff. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute with somebody else. And I think she was teetering on that line, always was. And I think she just, did what she needed to do and got out. And so she's had some space. And she ran the London Marathon and got first in her age group last year. And then she said she wanted to kind of keep on going. She enjoyed it so much. Well, there was an ultramarathon. She's never done an ultramarathon before. And an ultramarathon technically is anything over 26.2. But really, it's anything about 30 miles or more. That's usually the next distance is 30 miles, and 50K is kind of the same thing. And they kind of start there. And she said she was going to try this. I pulled up the webpage. Run to the Tower, Race to the Tower, sponsored by Heineken this year. Race to the Tower, which goes. I'm not English or British or whatever, so I don't really know how to say this. The Cotswolds, which it's semi-rugged terrain, but it's a double marathon. It's 52, 53 miles. I looked at the hill profile on this thing, and it has 7 hills that are each, if you average them together, they tend to average about 700 feet, each one of them, and then plus other hills. But 700 feet is 70 stories. And I'm talking like, this isn't like a gradual hill. This is like a hill. Like you run up to it and here's a hill and it's 70 stories tall. And she, and it had 7 of those. And she ran it I talked to her on Twitter about it too, beforehand, just a quick back and forth. And she ran an 8:35. Which is really, it's so good that she got second overall. She only got beat by one guy. There's some interviews where she talked about her training and stuff. But anyway, what's so cool is I cannot promote enough people getting into ultramarathon running, trail running, it could just be trail running. It doesn't even have to be ultramarathon, but it could just be off-road trail running to counterbalance the type a-holeness of that people get worked up about, and the competitiveness of road triathlon is so vicious that when you start doing trail running, especially long distance trail running, it becomes so different. The attitude is so laid back and so casual because pretty much everybody understands that the distance is your biggest competitor and you not screwing up is your other biggest competitor. And whatever other people are doing, that's their own business. You're just out there together, just casual, doing your thing. And so this thing where you get, somebody passes you and you try to catch back up with them, or, try drafting, which is silly, but don't help other people, every man for himself out there. It is completely opposite of that in trail running. And she said that she absolutely loved it. And, so she's got the first one on her belt. She's talking about she's probably going to do more of them, and that'll be awesome. She could become legendary. You only have to train about half as much as you do for Ironmans, maybe, to be really good at the 50-mile distance at least. The 100-mile is the Ironman of these things. 50-mile takes about as long as an Ironman, but is legit. Mary Beth Ellis, who's a female pro, did her first Spartan, and she won first place. Maybe, I don't know if she beat all the men, but she said she won more money in that than all of her, than her prize money usually at Kona. And that was pretty interesting. So Ironman really underpays its pros for what you get done in happiness and in money. And the ultra running and Spartan and stuff like that is really amazing. So let's flip the coin and go to the other side of people's behavior. And let's go to some bad behavior. We got Slow Twitch posting an article, breaking the news. I would have gotten out anyway, whatever website, about this lady in the 40 to 44 age group that got caught on video deflating a competitor's tire. And they're in contention for podium. So she knew who she was going after. She went and deflated this other woman's tire. And this is what you get into with the cutthroat, the mindset that just permeates road triathlon, that doing some off-road stuff can help counterbalance, get you some perspective on things, not treat everything so seriously. So at first she denied it. She was caught on video though by the victim's husband. Happened to go back to the bike rack area and saw this woman deflating a tire on his wife's bike. Had it on video and everything. Got the race director or something and busted this lady. But after a couple of days of everybody going, dude, you did this, lady, not dude. She wrote on Facebook to Slow Twitch editor. And this is a quote from her. I was under so much pressure to perform. I made a wrong decision. I'm sincerely sorry. And so there's a whole lot of, I'm sincerely sorry. I don't know why I did it. I can't even believe I did it. And then I'm not a horrible person. I'm just someone that made an impulsive bad decision. I know that I need some serious help. Right. So that's good. That I know I need some serious help. And then she goes on to say that she thinks she has an eating disorder, and that messes up her brain, and she needs help, and she's not thinking straight, and she can't make good decisions. I don't expect her to get back in the sport anytime soon. There was this incident has made me realize how much help I need. Right, so there's a whole lot of she also says, despite being an accomplished athlete, and then all this negative, stuff. All right, so there's two things in here. This is a big thread on Slow Twitch where people are pointing out that it's kind of, you have to look for it, but it's kind of a half-assed apology. There's two things where even if she thinks she's being, there's a lot of people that are like, man, this other woman could have gotten seriously hurt by, a half-deflated tire, going out from under her while she's getting on her bike and stuff. Maybe, maybe not. But this is really serious. This is a very, very serious thing. Damaging another person's equipment, in a race. And there's something here. The very first sentence in here says, I was under so much pressure to perform. Okay, so what's going on here? What that's doing, that's putting the pressure, somebody else is pressuring her to perform, right? So that's again, if I'm her, that's saying I'm a victim. The world is making me do this. Somebody else is making me do this. I was under so much pressure to perform. And when somebody, and then further down, she says, despite being an accomplished athlete, right? She's still defending herself as if she's above, she's better than other people or most other people. So this twice it's mentioned in here. It's not really entirely all my fault, and also I'm still kind of above. I'm above the law. I'm an accomplished athlete. Still feeling the need to show others that she's great. And now let's move away from her case. We're just talking about plain psychology here. When anybody apologizing for anything, even though a lot of this, I'm a terrible person, I've done this and I've done that, and I need help, is awesome. That's over the top, just incredible. Like, good that she wrote that. But the blaming the circumstances on other things besides herself. No one's making you go do these races. If you can't admit that this is a self-created situation, that I put myself under so much pressure to perform, is how somebody that's truly recognized that they are guilty for doing this and they need to fix themselves would word that. And they would not squeeze in there that they are an accomplished athlete. It's not, if you're truly sorry, you just wouldn't even mention that. It would never come up. You don't need to, right? You would just say, I messed up. I feel terrible about it. I hope I will try to never ever do anything like this ever again. I'm so sorry, and I understand if other people really upset at me, and I hope that that I can get some help. Right? That's all you need, and you don't need to say these other things. Anyway, all that aside, so when somebody apologizes to you for something, or you see apologies on the public apologies, look for stuff like that. Who's really to blame? Is there like half languages in there, and then you know whether the person's really quite there yet and going to get help. So this is a big deal. Some people just couldn't believe that this would happen. I'm always shocked when it's women that do this, but it seems to happen a lot. I think my belief, a lot of people's belief, that women are nicer and and would never do something terrible is made up. I don't know where we think this, because a lot of these cases, women are super competitive, and they do some stuff like this. It seems to me as much as guys, or maybe even more sometimes, which always just blows my mind. And yeah, there's a little story when I was one of my earlier triathlons. I've been doing it a few years, but a woman started trying to move my bike out of the and put her bike in the spot that my bike was in. While I was outside of the transition area, but I was standing there watching. I had my bike all set up, and then I got out of the transition area to kind of finish getting ready. But I got outside of the transition area and then went and stood on the other side of the fence, but 20, 30 feet from my bike. So she just thought I was part of the crowd, but I was actually watching my bike because the transition area racks were kind of crowded. And she tried to start moving my bike, and I yelled at her. I go, "Quit touching that bike. That's my bike." And she was like, well, this is, it's in the wrong spot. And I go, "No, it is in the right spot. Your number is this, and you go over there." And she tried to get like really falsely pretend like aggravated with me, like she was righteous and stuff. And I'm like, "Lady, you keep touching that bike, and we're going to have a problem." We're going to have to get a race official over here. And she knew that would get her in trouble. And then she left it alone. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, because I'd come from mountain biking background first, with racing. And I was like, who takes this? I mean, dude, we're age groupers at some local sprint triathlon or maybe an Olympic. Like, who cares, man? Why are you doing this? And what are you going to get out of this? I mean, we're not even the same gender. Like, quit moving bikes around. Anyway, so those are our stories on that. Lots of drama in the LBC. Okay, let's read this email from... All right, this email is from Dana Foreman, Formon, and she's at Sam Houston, which is Huntsville, which is my favorite place to do ultra trail runs. And she's a doctoral candidate, clinical psychology, and Sam Houston State in Huntsville. And she wrote, man, I need to reply back to her. It's been a few days. "Hi, Brett, ! Pseudo long-time listener here, meaning I found your podcast in March through Triathlon Terran's video blog, but I've been binge listening to everything you've released for the last 2 years or so." Oh, so you found out about me recently, but went back and listened to a whole bunch of old stuff. Cool. Smiley face with the wink. I first wanted to just thank you for a super relatable podcast. As someone who is newer to triathlon, I thought your podcast would be hard to follow since I'm not super serious into the sport yet. But I've actually found it so helpful in just learning about basic triathlon knowledge. And then the material is not at all overwhelming. So yeah, thanks! ! By the way, Amrita bars are delicious! ! Second, and then in parentheses, and to be honest, this is the real reason I'm emailing. I was wondering if you could help point me in the direction of some triathlon training groups in the area that you might know of. I'm currently a PhD student at Sam Houston State who also does work at TAMU, go Aggies! ! Studying clinical psychology. I'm looking for insane people, and you and your friends came on my list. No, I'm just saying, she didn't write that. The lab that I'm researching in is working with endurance athletes, half and full Ironman triathletes, marathon and ultra runners, long distance cyclists, marathon swimmers, etc., etc., and the stress that training puts on their psychological well-being and recovery. We're recruiting athletes, but other than, say, Volt, I don't know, VOLTE, Volt Endurance and Finish Strong Coaching and the local running club, we're not really sure where else to look or who to reach out to. Might you have any advice here? As I've discovered, there's basically no research on the psychology of endurance athletes, especially triathletes, and my lab is looking to change that. Happy face. Thanks so much both for reading this email and for having an awesome podcast. Exclamation point, Dana. All right, so Dana's email is, where'd it go? I know I can find it here by going to the top of the email. Oh, wow, it's a complicated email. Ready, everybody? DLF, probably Dana, and then the middle, like Laura or something like that. F, I believe it's 013. DLF 013 at SHSU, that's Sam Houston State University, .edu. So again, it's DLF 013 at SHSU.edu. And if you want to get involved in being researched upon, being a lab rat, then give her a shout out. Or if you know of people in the area, I can think of someone. I'm going to reply back to her and tell her quite a few people that I know that are nuts. Okay, on that note, what I've noticed becoming an endurance athlete was two things. So the first thing I ever had to do in my life that was endurance-y was probably long swim team practices, right? Very brutal, no hope of ever escaping, and you have to keep going and going and going, kind of like that. And then the worst ones were like the inauguration of those was my freshman year in high school, and then 2 years of just existing, breathing oxygen mostly at military school was extremely, extremely difficult. That's an endurance. Even got a little bit of PTSD from going there. I had nightmares for years. So very, very stressful. Always having to be on, always having to watch your guard, always being worried someone's going to jump you, or you have to be tough and physical. Oh my gosh, it's never ending. Plus being on swim team at the same time. Okay, so then when years later, when I got into doing endurance stuff, it was during my first ever Ironman where I realized that this was as hard as going to military, as like surviving at military school. And that military school, I've probably talked about it a lot of other podcasts. It was Marine Corps. And Marines are notoriously insane, hard mindset. And it's kind of like similar to Navy SEALs, except there's way more of them. And you don't get to pick your weapons. You just have to be insane. Anyway, the interesting thing is about halfway through the run on that thing, I realized I was feeling the endurance, the mental endurance of survival of that about halfway through a full Ironman run. But toward the end of the day, as the sun started going down, was reminiscent of hard things I'd done earlier in life. And I liked it. I liked it that I was on the edge and I was pushing myself forward. But at the same time, it was a controlled environment. I could quit at any time. Now, when I was feeling like I was dying during swim team practice, or I felt like I was dying in military school, I couldn't quit. There's other people screaming at me that I got to keep going. And so I'm getting the same feeling of exhaustion and pushing myself to new places and new limits and reminding myself of what I can do. But in a safe environment that's actually controlled. And that's why I keep trying to tell people, if you really want to find yourself, sign up for an ultramarathon or an Ironman. And then about halfway through, around nightfall, late afternoon, you're really going to find what you're made out of. But it's kind of a safe environment, right? You could quit if you want. So now it's like, how much do you want to push yourself? What are you willing to do? How much pain are you willing to endure? And through the training for these kinds of things, your pain threshold starts increasing. And what I mean by that is that every time you do something that feels like you're going to die and then you don't die, that gives you reference for the next time that you do something that's pretty painful. And then but you're always got something to compare it to. You go, well, I experienced more pain than this one time and I didn't die. So I know I can keep going, right? Because everything's relative in your mind. And so you're always comparing. And you're like, well, that's a Zen thing. And so it's like, I can keep going. It's all right. When I'm at work and it sucks because somebody's in trouble and we got to type up reports and blah, 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 like that, I'm like, yeah, this kind of sucks. But we're in an office that's air conditioned, and I've had to work a job where I was cleaning trash out of a dirt parking lot where it was 100 degrees, and I actually did get heat exhaustion. Almost had a heat stroke, had a spontaneous nosebleed in dirt, wearing a hard hat, and the only place I could find a place to sit down and to regain myself is inside of a porta potty in a dirt parking lot in Illinois in the middle of the summer. And so it just smelled of feces, and it was cooking alive in the bright sun, and just the heat and the dirt and everything. And I'm like, so I'm sitting here at my desk in the air conditioning and having to push a pencil across a piece of paper, and type a few things on a keyboard. Yeah, that sucks, but it doesn't suck like that other job did. And so I'm like, well, it's not that bagging ice, man, until your hands go numb. I had to do that. I was a night shift. I was a night clerk. What do you call it? Night shift at a corner store for a summer, with crazy people coming in, stealing things. Cops had to chase people. I was a bouncer for a freaking year, having to get into fights and break up fights and throw people out, take drinks away from people and kick them out, and check IDs, and the stress, worried about getting stabbed in the back going out to your car in the parking lot at 3 a.m. because you threw somebody out and now they're angry and they've come back with a gun, and it started giving me an ulcer. And I'm like, so I can compare my desk job with that. It's like, well, it's not that bad. So anyway, there's a problem I've heard reading through some articles and whatever. The pain threshold of endurance athletes, long distance endurance athletes, physical and mental, is much higher than let's just say your average person, because they've experienced pain so much, and it didn't kill them. Their idea of what's actually painful, mentally and physically, doesn't register, and it's actually, while that's both a positive, it's also it works out to be a negative a lot of times, because you think something doesn't really hurt, but your body's giving you signals you need to stop because you're getting injured, but you don't stop because you're like, oh, it doesn't hurt that bad, But the thing is your perspective of what's that bad is all messed up because you've been doing endurance sports for so long. You're almost numb to pain. And yeah, it sounds badass, but it's your perspective is out of whack. So 2 examples I can think of: Lance Armstrong, when he had testicular cancer that was ravaging his body. He was at like stage 4 or something crazy like that. He had cancer all through his body. He was like, well, I hurt all the time because we do these long bike rides and they hurt. They were like, why haven't you come in sooner? Doesn't it hurt? And he's like, well, yeah, it hurts. I hurt all the time. And then when I was doing the Rocky Raccoon 100, the second time I did the 100, I finally dropped out at mile 60 after throwing up for 30 miles. And I was 3 days later in the emergency room. My myalgia, whatever, score was so high still days later that they were like, "How did you not come in? Doesn't this hurt?" And I go, "Of course it hurts. I ran 60 miles. What do you think?" They're just like, "Yeah, you're nuts." And I go, "No, They didn't believe that I was dehydrated because I was just sitting there with a smile on my face and cracking jokes. But Emily had dragged me in because she didn't think something was right, and they're like, "No, he's fine." And then they tested my blood, and they came back sheepishly without a word and gave me 3 IV bags of fluid. That's how dehydrated I was, and but they didn't think I was when I first came in. They laughed me off at first, and Emily pressed them to test me for dehydration because of my attitude was like I was fine, everything's cool. So that's my personal experience with pain threshold, and if I was in one of these studies, I'm very serious. I think you could stick a needle to me and anybody else that's done a bunch of Ironmans and ultra runs, like, press into our skin like a nail and go, "Well, how bad does this hurt on a scale of 1 to 10?" And we would say, "Oh, like a 3." And somebody else might go, 9, 9, 9, freaking stop it. Like that. And then if they put us in oh yeah, somebody told me one time, they were like, "How can you run for like 6 hours?" And I go, "Well, actually it was like 13 hours for this and 26 hours for that." Or I swam across Lake Tahoe, and it was 13 and a half hours. They go, "How can you do that?" I'd go insane. And I go, "Actually, I liked it. It was relaxing to get away from everybody. I actually enjoyed it." And they just can't believe it. They're like, "I would go insane with that isolation." And I'm like, "Man, I like it." But I've learned to like it, and a lot of us have. So that's where we are with that. Okay, before we get to the training log, well, again, contact Dana. I won't abuse you with the email address again. Well, I will. dlf013@shsu.edu. It's a good school. Hit her up. And let's before we get into the training log, where I take you with me on my escapades, got some keto stuff in there, some swimming pool stuff. Trying to think what else. Let's read off some donations. Let's see. Tyler Moyer. Oh, by the way, you can donate to the show on the left-hand side of ZenTriathlon.com. And on the right-hand side, you can get Hornet Juice, which we'll talk about in a second. Tyler Moyer, Spiros Fetsis, Stephen Hammond, Joseph Dieber, and Dwayne Morin, Joseph Rogalski, what is up, dude? Houston Marsh, what is double up, dude? Michael Rodagna, Brett, I've got the coolest name in endurance sports, Hoyer, Justice Phillips. Oh, I got to do a little diversion here, a little squirrel moment. I was listening to Mixed Mental Arts podcast, and the guest is a guy named Brett something or another. And then every time Hunter, who's the host, says Brett and whatever, I always look up and around. I go, "What?" Because my name's not so common that I'm used to hearing it all the time. Whenever I hear it, I look up and around. And I'm like, "What?" Justice Phillips, what is going on, dude? Jonathan Woodman, Hun Chu, Tanya Roy, and John Mulan all donated to the show. You can donate to the show on the left-hand side of ZenTriathlon.com. On the right-hand side, there is Hornet Juice. Hornet Juice is an amino acid. What it does is it turns on your fat burning. It is based on the saliva of Japanese killer hornets. No kidding. You talk about ketosis. This stuff is awesome. It activates your fat burning. And the more I learned about ketosis, the more I'm like, oh, that's how Hornet Juice works. It's really, really cool. So it turns on your fat metabolism because it's a specific blend of amino acids that when your body sees it, it goes, oh, it's time to turn on the fat burning. And that's what helps the Japanese killer hornet, which is the heaviest bodied insect that flies the longest distance on nothing. No carbs, but just on body fat that it's got. It's stored fat, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So scientists said, hey, we gotta figure out what amino acids it's doing to do this, using to turn on body fat burning. And it does. And the stuff really, really works. It's really crazy. And you can get it on the right-hand side. And every purchase you make of Hornet Juice gives back to ZenTri just a tiny little bit, and it helps keeps the show on the air. I get several purchases a day, and they start adding up, man. It's really cool. And it goes into Kai's college fund, which is really, really neat. All right. Oh, and it's a way for you to get something that's really cool for yourself, too. And it comes from New Zealand. When you order it, I tell Hornet Juice sends it from New Zealand. And, yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the training log. I take you with me on my workouts and dish on how they're going and things I learn along the way, so you can become an ultra-distance athlete yourself. Little tips here and there. And here we go.
You are entering the ZenTri training log zone. Huneli.
Hi everybody, my name's Brett. I'm a triathlete.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on, dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
It looks like it's June something, 4th, 5th. Oh man, leaving the pool. Lots of good stuff going on. I guess we should start off with a little bit of triathlon news. Looks like the Ironman brand, WTC, the parent company, bought competitor group. Oh man. Dan from Slow Twitch said that a while back he wrote an article saying he didn't understand why Ironman didn't own 5Ks, because then you own the whole spectrum, I guess the business talk is the vertical market is what it is. And yeah, that's interesting. Competitor makes a magazine that I actually found really nice. Coming into San Diego once every year or so for work, I would find a copy of Competitor magazine laying around, like a newsletter kind of thing. It was really good, really well written. Competitor owns the Rock and Roll 5K series, and apparently that's a big thing. And I guess you can say, hey, rock and roll runners, have you ever thought of going big time? You got a lot of time to kill? Want to be really selfish with your time and ignore your family for hours and hours on end and consider it self-improvement? Then have you thought about doing an Ironman? Woo! So on that note, the way to do an Ironman, for real, if you want to keep your family intact and make it actually improve your life instead of tearing it apart, is to incorporate your family and friends to help you out as their abilities can apply. You know, when I've been doing stuff, Kai likes to come out and my son and help give me water and do some of it himself, and Emily likes to tell everybody that she meets within 2 minutes about her husband is a triathlete and does all this stuff, and then Emily does some of it too. Man, all right. So I am listening to an audiobook, No More Mr. Nice Guy, I think is what it's called. It's really good. There's a lot of us that were raised in family situations where moms were the most powerful person in the world to us, and we're raised to please women, and we don't feel valid or complete or whole unless we're pleasing the women around us. And while a lot of that's nice, it's really nice, because women really most women, it seems to me, tend to have their shit together and tend to build up instead of tear down, you still want, as a guy, and I guess this could apply to women too. The book's really written towards guys that are struggling, maybe a little bit to quit being run over by women, but also it's every once in a while they mention women and they mention guys in gay relationships, and I think it could probably apply to women too. Anyway, so it's kind of an interesting book because not everybody's 100% anything, but you can find yourself sort of on the spectrum and find yourself being described here and there. And in my situation, for a long time my dad was at home, but then when I got to be a teenager, he had to work away from home, and my mom is a very strong, powerful mom, and she wore the pants when my dad wasn't around, and it turned out because of work my dad had to not be around for a while, and I would still see him, but like once a month. And he's definitely an alpha male. So when he showed up, it was like, oh shit. But otherwise, got a lot of the lecturing that men need to, figure themselves out and stuff like that, which subconsciously leads to a lot of, you want to please women because you needed to please your mom 9 times out of 10, and your mom had high standards. So you just find yourself doing that. I found myself doing that, growing up. And there's some really cool stuff in the book. I would say maybe in my 20s, it's kind of a teenager, and in my 20s, I found myself trying to please overly, or not trying to please women, but just found myself going, why don't girls like me more? Because I'm really nice. And girls don't really, I'm speaking out of turn here because I'm not a girl, but women want guys to be themselves. And when a guy is a guy, then the guy can be there for the girl when she needs him. And I guess that's the end of what I know about women. But, because I know it's a million layers deeper than that, and everybody's different. But one of the really cool things in the book is, if you're not authentic, if you're trying to please other people, then, and this is the bigger picture, this has less to do with men and women and more to do with just being happy. If you're trying to please other people, whether it be men or women, then you are not being yourself, and then there's a tragic crack in reality for you, and you never feel happy because you're never really being true to yourself. You're trying to be somebody that you're not because you're always trying to please somebody else or a group of people or something like that. And as I got older, I think it was mid-30s and 40s, I got to the point where I was like, wait, what am I doing? Why do I care so much about what other people think? And it was triathlon that actually got me there. And I also listened to the Keith and the Girl podcast, where Keith would go on rants about how guys need to quit feeling devastated if a girl doesn't like them, and to revolve their world around whether they got approval from women or not, and just be yourself, and then you'll be happier. It was pretty interesting. And Keith has got plenty of problems himself. But one of the interesting things, back to triathlon, oh my God, one of the interesting things is, and I'm only like a couple of chapters into the book, but right off the bat, they mention spend time by yourself, men or women. Spend time by yourself, because if you're by yourself, then there's nobody else around for you to try to please. And then you realize what makes you happy and what makes you feel whole and like you're getting stuff done, and blah blah blah. And boy, if that isn't the truth with training for triathlon, So if you're doing a single sport, a lot of times it's very effective to train with groups, right? Everybody's doing the same workout, and that works out really well, meeting up at the same time. But once you start getting into triathlon, there is so many different sports, so many different things to be training for. You can't get it done and work out in groups because the whole arranging time to meet up with everybody just doesn't work out. So you have to learn how to train by yourself. You have to learn to be self-sufficient in your own training. That's why when I coach, I get so many clients that are, and I only coach people that are over the internet, that are adults, that are doing their own thing on their own schedule. Because I can say, go for a run, do this, do that, and they can find the time to do it. They don't have to wait on somebody else to show up. And there's a breaking point where you come to terms with this, where you realize that biking with the group or running with the group all the time actually holds you back. Emily went on a run with some friends, and she said that it was frustrating because they're so much slower, and she needed to run this amount of time, but she sacrificed to run with them because that's important. And there's women building community again, and that's great. But you'll realize, when you keep coming in back of the pack, to maybe middle of the pack, but probably back of the pack, but you got so much more potential that somebody just ran a red light. The trick is you got to exercise per what your body needs, and working out with the group isn't working out. It's Saturday morning, and you need to get in a bike ride. And the bike ride group is like, well, we're not going to bike ride because we're going to, it's raining or something like that. Well, I'm going to bike on the trainer without them. Or the big one is going for a bike ride. This is the big one. Going for a bike ride on your own with no friends because you need to get in a 2-hour bike ride, 3-hour bike ride, and no one else will do it. Everybody drops out. They're like, well, I got to go home and I can't do this and I can't do that, which is fine. But this is the day that works for you. This day, this morning. And you can't do it later because it's going to be too hot, and you know that. Or what a million reasons why you can't do it later. So you got to do it on your own. So you're out there, finally, by yourself, and you're able to train yourself. And then those are the moments where you become not trying to please other people, not worried about appearances, what your bike looks like, right? Because there's no one around to judge whether your bike is cool because it's got aero wheels or all this crap. Or if your seat's too high, or if your cycling shoes are the coolest shoes, all this stuff that we get worried about what other people think. You're out there, and then the only thing left is you and whether or not the workout is good. And then you start to realize that that's the important stuff. And then when somebody later says, oh, you're riding with flat pedals. What is that? You can say back, hey man, at the last race, I was on the podium with my flat pedals. And you're self-confident. You don't need to please them anymore because you got the proof that what you're doing works for you. Anyway, I got to go into W to the ERK. Hopefully when we come back, we'll talk about the ultimate run course. And by the way, that was No More Mr. Nice Guy audiobook on audible.com. That's where I got that. Whew. All right. I need to eat. Let's get on it. All right, we are back. Gosh, I love this continued recording option on the Black Mamba. And let's see, I am headed back to work after years of lifestyle design, lifestyle engineering. I can swing home for lunch, which is really nice. Learning the upsides and downsides of having your own backyard pool, which is both awesome And boy, never going to take it for granted. There's so much in life that I've worked my way up to 43, almost 44, I think. And having to work for stuff makes you never, ever, ever, ever take it for granted. Especially if you did have some stuff that was pretty nice, having it taken away and then having to earn it back really drives home what stuff is really worth. It's the best. When I was in college, I was having to pay. I went to a state school, had to pay for half of school myself, working part-time jobs, and also slept on a door. That was my bed frame, was an old door, single wide, regular door, on top of milk crates to get it up off the ground. And I considered that cool and nice. And I was buying tortillas at the grocery store and cans of Wolf brand chili and putting the chili on the tortilla and sprinkling some cheese and putting that in the microwave and making a chilito, is what they call it. Got the idea from having one time at Taco Bell. I'm like, put beans in it, chili with beans. I'm like, is this almost real food? I'm not exactly sure. I guess I'll go. And anyway, boy, man. So I'm at home at lunch, and I am. Oh my gosh, dude! My first job was the lowest paying job I've ever seen in my entire life. But I stayed there for a while and did a really good job, and eventually got raises. And then went to grad school while working full time. And with the grad school degree, ended up getting a job that actually paid decently for my industry. And then over that period of time, started working towards constantly trying to upgrade the living situation to more and more being able to bike to work, or live places where you can actually exercise and do stuff to make life more fun. Definitely not into sitting around watching TV. You're on the wrong side of the screen if you're watching other people be awesome. This thing where you've got people watching other people play video games on YouTube, it makes my brain explode. You're on the wrong side of the screen. You want other people watching you do something awesome, not you watching other people be awesome, as a general habit. Okay. Let's see, our awesome thing is the run loop. Let's talk about that. Oh, wait, let me, no, we're going to do that first, and then we'll talk about salt stick. How about that? I'm not going to punish you with an ad, make you wait any longer. All right, I promised last episode I'd talk about what makes for a really good running loop, because I've come across something. One thing, if it's hot where you live, especially in the summer, you have a problem. Running in a long distance with a tailwind is going to cook you and make you absolutely miserable. So you want frequent turns. I can tell you one thing that makes for a lot of turns is a loop. You're never hot for very long if the loop is small enough, right? And it's because if you got a tailwind 5, 6, 7 miles per hour, well, you're running 5, 6, 7 miles per hour, so it's like you're just standing in your own ball of heat. It sucks. There's no breeze. And where I come from, where I'm at, it's very noticeable and will cook you and make you overheat very quickly. And on top of that, repeatable. So I found this loop that is 2 miles. That means you're never doing more than about a third, let's say half a mile in any one direction before you kind of start to turn gently. That is great. Now, gentle hills in this run loop. I already said repeatable. We'll do both. And with gentle hills, that's the sweet spot, because if you want, let's say you're kind of tired, then you can go up the hill softly. You have a choice, you know. If the hill was really steep, then you have no choice but to go hard. And let's say you've got an injury or plantar fasciitis, and you want to go up this hill. Well, it's going to really break you up, or you go downhill and it's slamming into you. So you can go softly, and it doesn't matter that much. But let's say you want some hill work. Well, you just run up this hill harder, faster. You can push the interval. And so what I found is this really sweet spot is gentle hills is really, really nice because you can choose how hard to go up them. And flat ground, you're not getting that resistance training that really makes a big difference. All right, street lights is nice because you can be safe if you're worried about that kind of thing, if you need that kind of thing. And also, repeatability. So this is what I figured out is so cool, is 3 loops of about 2 miles. The first loop, your first mile, 2 miles, you should have no goal. That should be your warm-up, especially with running. With cycling, it doesn't seem to matter that much, and with swimming, it really doesn't matter that much. But with running, you want to get your form together before you start going hard, or else you're going to injure yourself. And so 2 mile loop seems to be a really nice distance to go where you don't no goals, right? And that is really important. You got to go 2 miles, no goals. Just be like, whatever happens, happens. And that's okay, because you got another loop to go, or another 2 loops to go, another 3 loops to go. So the first loop is a throwaway loop. Your first 2 miles. That's all right. Then what happens is you can time yourself. And I made that first loop a Strava segment. That whole entire loop is a Strava segment. You can time yourself. And for me, right now it's like 23 minutes, 24 minutes. And actually you got to ask yourself, how slow can I run this loop? I want to be slower than a certain amount of time on the first loop. Now, your second loop, you say, okay, I want to go just a little bit faster than my second loop. And you're not even really trying. You're just kind of like, you should go. And if you don't, then there's probably something up, right? It's still not really a goal. You should naturally, without trying, go faster on your second loop than your first loop. And then your third loop, and I'm hitting the lap button every time I do one of these loops. My second loop, let's say if I did the first one in 23 minutes, my second loop I'll do around 22 minutes. And I'm like, all right, cool. I am speeding up, settling in. Okay, and then on my third loop, I'm like, all right, let's try to beat the second loop time, right? Now see how everything's relative versus what you did just a minute before, or a loop before or whatever. It's not really relative to what your all-time best or anything like that, because you don't really know how you feel. And your first loop is sacrificial to kind of get an idea of how you feel. It's kind of like calibrating you. You go, okay, how am I feeling today, right? No judgment, just observation. So you know what to do for your second loop or your third loop, or if you're going to do 4 or 5, whatever. Oh, a water stop along that loop would be amazing. It turns out on this loop there's a water fountain, but it's kind of off the loop just a tiny bit. It's not all that great, so I'm not, championing my loop as being incredible in that manner. Okay, then the other greatest thing about this loop that I've made and that I've figured out is the last part of the loop, the last half mile, 3/4 of a mile of this loop is uphill. And that way I'm finishing trying to go faster and improve on my time to the previous loop uphill. Right? Now the other loops had the uphill in it as well, but that's really, really cool for it to finish uphill. So I am. You can, by some miracle, you find everything that's all of this in one loop. Congratulations. I happened to cross it by accident, so I'm not saying that. This is after 20 years of running. I found a loop that I actually finally like. But, like I said, working my way in that direction, lifestyle design, making choices, making better choices, improving upon the choices made before, constantly learning, picking yourself up, improving just a little bit here and there. But all that being said, that loop isn't the, I'm not going to call it the Jesus loop, the loop to solve all my problems. It is not so, because I can tell you, after running it 4 or 5 times, I got bored and I went and ran an out and back loop, or out and back, not a loop at all, because I wanted to do something different. So it just goes to show that humans are weird. We want to find perfection, and then the minute that we find it, we go, oh, that sucks. So really what we want is good choices and variation. And that out and back that I figured out, I love it, man. Oh, it's awesome. And so now I have a choice. I can do this looping thing, or I can do this out and back based on how I feel. Oh, man. It's really, 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 really cool. Oh, and again, I probably mentioned it on the last episode, the creating a Strava segment on your regular running course, towards the end of your running course. Say like on the last mile of your normal running, tells you a lot. And you don't want your whole run to be a Strava segment, because then you'll push too hard and you'll go too hard when you still need to be warming up. But the last few miles, half mile, 2 miles maybe. What I figured out is it's really interesting to make that a Strava segment, because it allows you to go easy at the beginning, because you're warming up for the good part and you're saving yourself for the part where you're going to go harder at the end. And that's smart. By accident, you're kind of making it, so that you're warming up better. You're going to take your time on the first few miles, because you're saving yourself instinctually, but by accident, subconsciously, for the last part, you're saving up your energy. And that's really smart. That's going to lead to injury prevention. And then going harder towards the end is something that's going to improve you, right? Your systems are all warmed up. You're all great. You've really reduced the risk of injury because everything is moving well. And then now's the time to do a little bit of speed work. And you make it kind of short, 5-10 minutes for running is nice. A little bit of speed work at the end of your run, and that'll actually improve you without overdoing it. And you'll find that you'll try to do that Strava segment and improve on it just by habit, because you know it exists, and you'll be like, man, I want to move up from 7th place to 6th place, or I want to improve on my last time, and Strava will automatically show you your time and that you're improving on that time overall. Isn't that cool? Cool, man. So those are my tips on how to make the best ever but probably not, but the best ever run course. All those things put together. And then again, like I said, you alternate it on occasion with, I like to do an out and back run or something. You can do whatever you want. And let's say I'm going to run for an hour. I run out 31 minutes, and then my run back, I'm going to speed up, because that run out included some slow running at the beginning, just naturally. And then on my run back, I'll run a little bit faster. So it'll take me 29 minutes probably to cover the 31 minutes I went out. It'll take me 29 minutes on the way back. And that's how we roll. All right, everybody, stay tuned for the next segment. I got to go and crunch some numbers. Out, bang. All right. I'm out in the backyard, relaxing, listening to the Texas wildlife here, suburban wildlife. There's a freeway somewhere in the distance, and tree frogs, crickets. Whoa, what is that in the water? And I'm actually sitting chest deep in the backyard pool. And Zoe, my dog, is out here with me. She's curious. She's very curious. And you can hear the water. So, when I used to, and Emily too, used to live in apartment complexes, we would go for a run and just die in the heat and then jump in the apartment complex pool. It was so awesome. And I just absolutely love. This morning I went for a run and then hopped in the pool. And then this hour run, 6.2 miles, something like that. And then just rode on Zwift, which is the video game. And I can do the pretzel route in an hour, almost an hour. I'm about a minute short of the finish line in an hour. And so that's my challenge, is that's if it's my first lap. After I've done 1 hour, because I've done 2 laps of that thing, and on the second lap I can do it. I can beat it, but the first lap, because I'm not really warmed up yet, I'm not putting down the watts, all the watts. What is that floating in the pool next to me? It's nighttime, by the way, and I can't. But it's a good goal, and that keeps me trying kind of towards the end, putting down the power. And what I've noticed that's interesting is Zwift, because I got a route that's now long enough, that's got a lot of variation to it. The pretzel, or the figure 8, I think it's called the figure 8. Yeah, the pretzel, I think, includes the 5,000 foot mountain climb. I think that's not it. That's not the same one. So the figure 8. I've noticed a switch in my mind from it's a workout where I'm writing, following numbers on the screen, to actually it's become real enough, even though it's fake, that I'm feeling the course. And now I'm trying to actually ride the course in a certain amount of time. And that's way different, because that's way more real. So give the figure 8 a try on Zwift, and for your 1 hour workout, like your morning or evening workout, and try to beat it. And let me know if you do. You'd be amazingly badass. Because I'm on that thing. I'm on a tri-bike, and I'm putting down some watts at times, climbing and stuff. I'm not going all out, but I'm giving an honest effort after kind of an easy warm-up. That man, you beat that thing. Let me know. And I'm also having fun on Reddit. There's a subforum called Triathlon. Hey, no. Don't scratch the screen. Oh, pro tip. I got 2 pro tips. Well, let me do the Reddit thing. I decided to start answering questions on Reddit, the subforum Triathlon. And I think somebody made a subforum for ZenTri. Didn't they? Anyway, and I answered a question in there about how to get better at heart rate zones, or get more aerobic, and also how to race 70.3 heart rate zones, I think is what I answered. So I got 2 totally random life pro tips. One is outdoor lighting. It seems to me that you can use LED lighting outdoors, and it doesn't attract bugs. So on your back porch, front porch, if you don't want to attract bugs, if you want to have light, use LED. I think the wavelength doesn't attract them. They don't see it. They don't think it's the moon. If you were unaware of this is pretty cool. The reason night lights attract bugs, like your patio light or whatever, is they think it's the moon or the sun, maybe. Doesn't matter. They think it's one of the two, and they use it for navigation. In the real world, they use the sun or the moon. And just like you would if you were pretty primitive. And they fly kind of at it, and then suddenly they fly past it, and they go, wait, I'm still supposed to be flying at it, so they turn around and fly at it, and end up doing circles and circles and circles around your light. So you're messing with their navigation. So anyway, if you don't want bugs on your patio or wherever, your night light outside, use LED. Apparently it doesn't attract them because it's a whack job wavelength instead of a natural one. It's a chemical light. And then another one is if you're traveling and you're in a hotel or at a friend's house and you want a stand-up desk. I was listening to that interview with Dean Karnazes on the Art of Charm podcast. And I gotta say, that guy, I don't know where he got his questions from, but he asked all the right questions to Dean Karnazes. The real questions that need real answers. That, I don't like his interview style, but god damn, those were some good freaking questions. So way to go, dude. All the right questions. It's crazy. This is the most useful interview with one of the best runners in the world that I've ever heard. Stuff that you can kind of learn from him and then take home if you can apply it. And what actually works. And then, but anyway, Dean Karnazes says that he can't sit still. Hey! No. Dog scratching at the screen. No, Zoe. And, sorry about that. And when he's traveling, he can't sit still. And he doesn't like to sit and work at a computer. He likes to stand. And, well, what about in a hotel? What do you do for a standing desk? And he goes, I just open up the ironing board. Makes a great standing desk. And I was like, oh man, that is cool, dude. Because I'm going to be in San Diego at some point this summer, probably for almost a week. And I was like, yeah, dude, I go open up the ironing board and use it as a standing desk. I like it a lot. And if you're visiting a friend too, you're doing a, what is that, Airbnb crap? And, or you're just at a buddy's house. All right. Finished my bike and poured myself a glass of wine and water over ice in one of these vacuum sealed cups everybody's got right now. That's the new trend. All right, that's it, everybody. Gonna go to bed. Out, bang. Let's get out of this pool. All right, I'm in the ZenTri Mobile Studios, a.k.a. that's what also known as, it took me years to figure that out, means is my wife's car with her pink Marathon and half Ironman stickers on the back. I'm the biggest, ugliest chick driving around in a little white Honda Civic that you've ever seen. Anyway, getting ready to go in for my swim. I thought I'd detail a little bit about what encompasses that. Sometimes if I get to the pool early, and I like this, I was talking with a coworker that said she likes to do this. She gets someplace early and then sits there and thinks. And debating about whether to do intervals or just swim constant. And it's nice to go back and forth to intervals one workout and then constant speed, the next workout, kind of like a meditation swim, and see how the intervals played out. Did they make you faster during your constant swim? Measure your constant swim, your nonstop swim, see if you're any faster as a result of your intervals. And I was thinking a lot about pattern recognition and enlightenment and anxiety and depression based on an interview I was listening to with The One You Feed. On one hand, the One You Feed podcast. On one hand, we're pattern recognition machines, and recognizing a pattern in life, like, oh wow, those kind of trees always have this kind of wood, and that's a good kind of tree to build. If I'm trying to build something, then that's a kind of tree over there. And these kinds of animals have this kind of fat and meat, or this kind of plant has this kind of food, or that kind of mushroom has this kind of poison in it, right? So pattern recognition, recognizing a pattern, is how humans have come to be where we are, because we engineer our lives to be easier based on patterns, stereotypes, stuff, because they work and they're efficient. And actually an IQ test is pattern recognition, from what I understand. How quickly do you recognize patterns? And it's not how smart you are, but how smart you could be. And smart, based on human perspective, is how fast you recognize, is knowing patterns, right? And there's a lot of runners over here, so this would be a good place to run. So if you see a lot of runners, then, and the more women runners, probably the safer and more enjoyable the run route will be. So that's a good place to go run. That kind of stuff makes life like really easy. But also, so recognizing a pattern gives you a moment of enlightenment, a flash. It turns on the light. Get it? Enlightenment. You're like, cool. And that makes you feel good. It gives you a little, I guess, a dopamine boost. Kind of like, I get it now. I get it. Right? And that's a moment of enlightenment. But he was saying kind of the opposite, this guest on the show. And he was saying, this constant search for patterns creates anxiety. And this whole first part that I was just talking about was all me. He was saying that another form of enlightenment was detaching from trying to find patterns all the time and just letting the world be, because then you're egoing. You're like, there should be, you're shoulding. Don't should all over the place. Stop shoulding. And when you quit trying to should, there should be a pattern here, I'm looking for a pattern, then you get some relaxation. And he was saying enlightenment. I'm like, well, that's a different form of enlightenment. There's two different kinds. Actually, school of Buddhism says there's two different schools of enlightenment. Is momentary, that you can always come upon any moment and lose, and that's fine, that's good. And then constant enlightenment. And actually, I've had plenty of both. But I never really recognized the mechanism behind constant enlightenment. So I just tried it. I was just sitting here, and there goes another runner. I recommend it for you as well. You got to try it. Sit down where it's quiet. I was just doing this, like in your car, before you go in someplace. And quit trying to find a pattern. Quit trying to should. Quit trying to make sense of everything. And then you'll instantly feel like you just detached and like an astronaut on a spacewalk, just boing. And like when I did my Ultraman, and I realized I was in something so big that I couldn't figure it out. I was just going to have to do it. I had a moment of a long moment, 2 days of just boing, detached, float in space. Don't know what to do. Quit trying to figure out the pattern. What happens, happens. It's not a thing. It's an action of just being. And it's actually, I was skeptical listening to it, and then I tried it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, I knew it when I was doing it. I knew it, but I couldn't do it. And but I didn't know the mechanism behind it, like how to get there on purpose. And yeah, that's it. Huh. I wonder if there's danger in trying not to find a pattern, getting oh, that's just how things go. Because then you could just walk out in front of a car, not expecting the pattern of, well, the car's going to keep going and run over you. I'm so in the moment of Zen. Look at me. Squish. So I wonder if you just do it in safe places or something. I don't know. Anyway, good stuff. I'm going to go in and swim. All right, I'll be back. Out, bang. All right, that was a nice swim. Getting back into the female ZenTri mobile studios, also known as the Estro Gym. All right, good swim. Man, I'm glad I actually did it. Even though I'm late, I'm glad I went the full thing. 4,500 yards in less than an hour, which is a 119 pace, 119 per 100 yards pace. I think it took me 59 minutes and 45 seconds on the timer beep. I think that's a 56-minute Ironman swim, which is smoking. I could feel the improvement from both the interval with the drag sheet workouts I've been doing, and then also the push run that I did the other day with Kai. We went running together, and he ran 4 miles, I ran 6, and he did a set of push-ups every mile with me, and I did a set of push-ups to be very careful not to re-injure my left arm. And especially if I haven't done push-ups in a while, you got to be careful not to tear something up, especially if you've been doing drag chute intervals. I mean, that's a lot of stuff all at once, so you got to be careful. So I was doing those, not to be sexist, but with my generation growing up called girl push-ups, where your knees are on the ground. I don't know. I would call them whatever they're actually really called now, if I knew what it was. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But they are plenty hard. And it's an awesome way to get started and get in the groove to doing full push-ups. Or you don't ever need to do full push-ups. You could do the other style with knees on the ground if you want. It doesn't bother me. But the whole point is if you're getting a good workout. And, let's see. Oh, before the swim, I did an Amrita bar. I got it right here. It is a apricot strawberry Amrita bar. Drank it with a cup of coffee on the way to the pool. Had plenty of energy. Could have used a little bit more water. And because my stomach started getting a little bit upset because, that's on top of coffee and not much else. So there's not much to digest it there. So more water would have been better. But otherwise, it was great. Had solid energy the entire time. Only started to fade the tiniest bit, like the last 7 minutes or something like that, which is really impressive after keeping up a pace like that of 119. So everything is getting better, man. Better. And just real quick, talking about pattern recognition and enlightenment. The very next podcast in my queue was the You Are Not So Smart podcast, and it's all about confirmation bias and tricks that the world plays on you and things like that. And the first part of it, he goes into a long bit about humans being pattern recognition machines. And it's because we look for patterns that stand out against the white noise, because if we notice a pattern, that means that we could be being hunted by a lion. And cheetahs, with their dots, their spots and dots, are trying to break up their pattern. Camouflage is trying to break up the pattern so you can't see it, so that they can eat you. And the reason we are so happy and good at recognizing patterns is because if you detect a pattern, it's going to be great. And we lean towards that direction of feeling good about detecting patterns. even if there isn't even a pattern there, we still like finding a pattern, because you'd rather think you see a pattern and be wrong than be food. I love the way that was put. That's exactly what I was trying to say. The world will eat you alive if you're not used to seeing patterns. And that's how we got here today. Anyway, that's it. Nice swim. Something about today being World Running Day, International Running Day. Tri Boomer sent me a message by Facebook saying, what are you going to do today? And actually, I might be running this evening. We'll see on how hot it is and what else is going on with the fizzy fan. All right, that's it. Out, bang. Oh, wait. We've got a discount code for Amrita bars. I'll bring it to you in just a minute. I don't have it on me while I'm trying to record. But it's something like Amrita Team 2017. But man, Amrita bars rock, dude. They are so good. Love them. Feel good that you're eating one, because it's all this low carb, high fat stuff. Amrita bars do have fat in them. And even though it's got plenty of carbs, the carbs also come with fiber, and it's not really low carb that you want, but you want, as a triathlete, you want slow carb. You need your carbs. You just don't need them coming at you like a shotgun. You need them coming at you a slow trickle, cold trickle, days of thunder carbs. All right, that's it. Out, bang. All right, we are out back again in the backyard. I was listening to, I don't know, should I do, I should do workout numbers first and then do what I was thinking about. But I worry I'm going to forget what I was thinking about. There'll always be more stuff. Just ran. It is National Running Day, International Running Day, World Running Day. Anyway, and I really wasn't planning on running today, but I did anyway. And kind of glad I did. I took a nice little video of the countryside road near my house. I'll post that on Instagram in a little bit. But out like maybe 3.25 miles, 3.3 miles, and back the same. Really hot on the way out. Had a little bit of a tailwind. It is humid and warm. I saw a feels like, heat index. What are my dogs doing? Oh, they've decided there's something in the vines over there. And a feels like heat index of 108, I think I saw today. So it wasn't much better this evening. And anyway, running into the wind on the way back was really nice. So I was glad that I did an out with the wind and a back with the wind. You should always do that if you can, if you're running. Because the out with the wind, you're just getting warmed up and you're not getting overheated yet. And if there's any time that you're going to be okay with that, is when you just start out. On the way back, when you're starting to build up heat, you get that nice cooling effect on the way back. Anyway, noticed while I ran a road that I haven't run in a long time, and I ran it without much trouble at all, in my Nike Freeze, which really seemed to be helping out with plantar fasciitis healing, of all things. It's kind of weird. But with those, it allows me to actually stretch out my arches instead of crunching them up and protecting them. Kind of forced to expose them, and then that stretches them out. It's really weird. Because you hear the opposite, but then I'm wondering if my injury is one that, I'm scratching my head like I'm really thinking. My injury was one of the muscle eventually getting more and more tightened and bound up from underusing it and protecting it and not having strong feet, because I was clenching them and they were getting just more and more bound, like George Costanza, the hand model. Fell in love with his own hand until it became a claw. And let's see. one moment of Zen and another interesting training tip. Ritual podcast, 2 guys on there talking about peak performance. All stuff pretty much heard before. Still a nice episode. And God, it seems like everybody's gonna have some tragedy, to make them interesting. What about people that are just doing it right their whole lives? They're just not interesting, So like on the Ritual podcast, one guy was a 4-minute miler, 4:01 in high school, and then washed up. So that's why he's a great coach. It's like, what? I mean, but that's true though. That's what we're attracted to. We're attracted to people that are real, that are flawed. And the other guy was some kind of attorney or something like that, and was working in the White House at age 22, and then completely blew up and couldn't take it anymore. So people that failed miserably are the ones we hold as our, and then come back from that, are the ones we hold as our heroes. I mean, it's kind of like Odysseus, Homer, that Homer wrote, he got sent away from home, and it's the coming back home proves that you know what you're doing. Because if you're just born into it, if you're born royalty, who cares if you're king? Well, that wasn't hard. It's pretty much handed to you. But if you put yourself in poverty on purpose. That's a really good example, actually. And then become worshipped. Well, that's on its own merit. You figured it out yourself. Like we find people who were fat, grossly overweight, and then lost all the weight and became thinner. We want to go to them for advice. I guess it's because we can identify with them. But the person that was born skinny and then stayed skinny, it's like, well, you're probably not even trying, even though they might be. They might be trying their ass off and just stayed there. One that does actually, that's just normal. But one that does make me cringe, I don't like, is the person who is a terrible criminal and then reformed himself. And that person, if that person's worshipped, you don't hear about that one very much, but it still does happen. What about the person who never got in trouble in spite of all the opportunities to get in trouble all day long? That's hard, man. They're pretty much non-interesting. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. Something to think about. My dog is trying to climb a wooden lattice work because there's some kind of creature up in the ivy. God, I hope it's not that big ass snake. Oh, this dog is so much work. You inherit the children you deserve. That's what I've heard. If dogs are children, they teach you about yourself. So anyway, peak performance. These guys were saying scientific studies show that all this compression this, compression that, if you're doing it for recovery, that actually just sitting waist deep in water is just as effective. It's just as much compression. The hydrostatic pressure of water is actually just as effective. I don't know about that. That's just what they were saying. So like Normatec boots, for example. Now, that's post-workout. You can't sit waist deep in water when you're running. So I still think the compression socks while doing a long trail run or a triathlon might be worth it, because obviously it helps. If pressure helps, or you recover. Drinking a little bit of wine and water, ice water mixed together. It's my recovery drink. Have some ice cream here in a second, and then there was something else. We'll listen to some crickets while I think of what it was. Oh yeah, I'm listening to 2 different audiobooks. No More Mr. Nice Guy, which I've already talked about, and then The Effective Executive, which might be a little bit of an older book, but it's really good. And my buddy Morgan recommended it to me, so I'm listening to that. I'm kind of alternating back and forth to kind of mix it up. I thought, why not? Why am I trying to stick with one book and getting bored of it and forcing myself to do it? Why not alternate back and forth every once in a while? And there was a good saying in there. If you're doing something, ask yourself, if you were to start right now, would you be doing that thing? Something that you're like embedded in, something that you're doing, taking care of a pool, mowing a yard, meetings, this one meetings group that you're involved in. And you're kind of feeling like, training for a race. And you're deep in it. You're in a habit of working on it. Something that you're doing all the time. Ask yourself, is this something that, like, if I was starting it right, if I was given a choice to start it right now, to take care of this thing, to be in these meetings, to run this project or anything like that, would I take it on now, knowing what I know now? And if the answer is no, then see if you can stop and get out of it. You're training for an Ironman that's far away, and you realize it's going to conflict with your summer plans with your family and stuff. You're like, okay, knowing what I know now, should I continue on digging this hole, or should I stop? Would I if I was starting now, would I start? If the answer is no, then stop. Whew. And then something else occurred to me, because I got Kai the Way of the Warrior, the Path of the Warrior Kid, or Way of the Warrior Kid book, audiobook. No, paperback book. And I was thinking, when I was a kid, a lot of the stuff I read were college books and books that my parents had in this little small library. Very, very small. Just almost a bedroom-sized room that had a TV and a small couch in it. And then on one wall was a bookshelf. That was it. Wasn't fancy. And not tons of books, but, floor to ceiling, maybe 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide, big bookshelf full of books. And I would, if I was bored, I'd go over there and pick out a book and I'd read it. So I read a lot of stuff that was adult books, not adult, but, grown-up books, written for grown-ups as a kid, and learned a lot of stuff. I learned about Kung Fu, I learned about beekeeping, I don't know, just random shit. And Shakespeare. When I took honors English my senior year in high school, and we were reading Hamlet. I think it was Hamlet. No, Macbeth? I don't remember. But anyway, I happened to have my mom's college-level book on Hamlet that she had underlined all the important parts. And my mom was way better of a student than I ever could have been. She was amazing. And so to have that in class, all this annotation, it was so inspiring and so cool, and I knew so much, and I got it. She had underlined, the puns that were going on in there, in the double entendre, which Shakespeare's so good at. Hamlet. Uncle, I'm already too much in the sun. Get it? Come over here in the sun where I can see you. And he's, I'm already too much in the sun. He's like, I don't want to be your son. Double meaning with being in the sun. And I remember my mom had underlined that. So I'm sitting there thinking, I am listening to all these amazing audiobooks. I have listened to dozens on fear and productivity and standing up for yourself and endurance and willpower and all this cool stuff. And these books are gone. I own them, but they're not in paperback. And if I had these books paperback laying around, Kai would be reading them. So I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, one is to buy them, but another is to, I read my dad's books too. He had all these books on Vietnam, like the really interesting ones. Chicken Hawk was a good one, and Sniper, American Sniper, or whatever, Marine Sniper. Yeah, just two off the top of my head. Just so good. And I learned a lot about the difficulty of war and world politics and stuff. Hunt for Red October, Stephen King, because of my dad. And we're missing something. I'm listening to all these books, so I'm learning, but they're not laying around for my son to learn them. So I Googled and found out, you can have multiple accounts for Audible. So I guess I'll try that first. I'll say, hey, do you want, and multiple, you can put on multiple devices so he can have access to all the books that I'm listening to. So I'll see if he wants to do that. And if it doesn't take, then I guess I'm going to start buying my favorite books and then leaving them around the house. You know? Anyway, that's it. That's all my thoughts. I'm going to go inside. Whew. That's it. Out bang. All right, it is Thursday morning on my way to W to the ERK. Scratching my head again. And had a nice little bike ride this morning. Some tricks to get up and get moving. Well, first off, if you get up, I noticed when I got up that I didn't have trouble getting up, and that's a sign that you got enough sleep. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did go to sleep on time last night. Go to bed around 9:30, wake up around 4:30, 4:20, and if you think that's nuts, it's not. It's just what productive people can do if they find it necessary. And no problem getting up, and then made a cup of coffee, drank that, and then took an ashwagandha pill, which is, I don't even know how to describe it. What is the phrase for it? Oh, something that makes you feel good. And then it's an herb. And then an L-theanine pill. I like to take those several times a day. Those are my supplements I like to take. Those are nice. And then a little bit of like this hippie organic cereal. It had flax seed and pumpkin seed in it, I think. Flax and pumpkin. It's kind of granola-y-ish, but with coconut milk, so I get my saturated fat. And then, what was the other thing that went with it? Oh, a big spoonful of hemp powder. Add a little bit more protein to it. And not a huge bowl, it's kind of a small to medium-sized bowl. Ate that. And then surfed the internet for a little bit, letting that digest, kind of get a view of the weather and the day and all that. Then had have a timer for 15 minutes of meditation. Sit back. I have my laptop with my to-do list in my lap, but I kick back, close my eyes in a darkish room, and try not to let all the thoughts run out of my head. And as I think of things, write them down on my laptop, on my to-do list. But don't try to do anything about them. Just kind of let them until your breathing is nice and relaxed. And there's no more things. You're like, I got everything written down. And that's my version of meditation right now. And then after that, get my bike stuff together, hopped on my bike, and then did a high-end Zone 2 workout on the bicicleta. And set I wouldn't call it a PR. Well, it's kind of a recent PR for my goal. Oh, we're caught up with traffic. Got an accident up ahead. And, ooh, boy, it's an ugly one. We got a bad exit ramp thing where we got people coming on the on-ramps on the right-hand side, but also the major exit into town from the suburbs. The one suburb in College Station is a left-handed exit because it was made a long time ago, back when they thought it wouldn't be a problem. And now it's going to be a little bit of a problem. So it looks like I'm backed up a little bit. But anyway, on the bike, 1.5 scoops of maltodextrin powder, which which is like 150 calories maybe. So that's just enough to make to give you a little bit of pep, but without spiking your blood sugar. And plus, I just ate cereal like 45 minutes before that, maybe an hour before that, and I don't start drinking it till I'm actually on the bike and pedaling, because if you drink stuff, if you drink faster acting stuff and coffee well before you get on the bike, you'll have a blood sugar spike and then a crash. So my trick is to, yeah, you can have fast-acting sugar-ish stuff, fast-acting carbs, but only after you've started moving on the bike. And then your body, you can't supply your body fast enough with that kind of stuff if you're cruising along. So you're burning 800 calories per hour, but you're you're taking in 200, 300, 400, but you're burning 800. So at that point, it's barely even touching you don't get an insulin rise out of it, so it's okay. That's what I'm going with. And then you have a good workout, and then you're hydrated because you're drinking water with it, and it helps you transport all that stuff. But anyway, I did something interesting and new. Anytime you're not really motivated for a workout, try something new. So like last night's run, I was kind of like, do I really want to run? But it's World Whatever Running Day. I should really run if I can. And then I'm like, I'll run somewhere different that I haven't run in a while. And then that was cool because you're kind of exploring. You're like, what's going to happen? And this morning, I was like, I'm going to try something cool. Salt Stick, which is a sponsor. They make chewables, which are kind of lime flavored. Lemon lime, citrus. They're really good. I crushed a chewable into my water bottle. That's also my fuel bottle, right? And dropped a couple of cubes of ice in it to keep it cool. And I have, I barely tasted it actually. But I'm wondering if that really helped my workout today. I had a fantastic workout doing that. And you're like, hey, Brett, I got something that I want to crush up and put in my bottles or whatever. Something I want to crush up in life. And I can't get it to crush. It's too hard because I tried crushing it with my thumb, and I was like, oh man, this is too much work, dude. This sucks. So there's two ways. One, you can crush it with your teeth and then take a mouthful of water and then spit the water back into your bottle. So like say you're riding along the bike, and in a little Ziploc bag, you got a little tiny little Ziploc, you've got salt capsules or chewables or something like that, and you want to crush them up, not eat it all at once, and mix it in with your water. Put it in your mouth, crush it, and then take a mouthful of water and then swish it around your mouth, and then force it back into your water bottle by spitting that mouthful of water back in. And boom, you've got your stuff diluted and mixed without taking too much of it all at once. The other one, because I'm in the kitchen and we have this like junk utility drawer, is I grabbed pliers and I crushed it with pliers. I've done that before. It works really well. And yeah, so that's how I mixed it up. But I think my average watts was like 240 watts. Average heart rate like 132, 135. And average 22 point something miles per hour. And this includes a lot of elevation gain. There's some big hills. And did some standing and climbing on the bigger hills to help stretch out my plantar fasciitis and my ankle and stuff. All on flat pedals with my old running shoes on. Which, if that blows your mind, believe me, it blows my mind too, that it's actually possible to do that. But a really, really nice bike ride. And then I went over to the pool. I got out and made some ice water. Walked out back to the pool, hopped in, got chest deep, and then tested the chlorine, and the chlorine is low. Oh my God, it's so low. I got scoops of chlorine. Clorox makes chlorine for the pool, interestingly enough. And threw 2 scoops in, scooped out the dead mouse that was in the pool, which is suboptimal. And then got my stuff together and got to the whizzy work. All right, that's it. Got to go out. Bang. All right, homies, leaving the pool. Nice little swim, doing intervals. didn't really feel like doing long distance without stopping, so I did my other thing that I like to do, which is drag shoot. 5 minutes warm up. Swimming, you can warm up swimming really easily. Swimming to me is the fastest thing to warm up. You need the least amount of time to get going, and then 5 minutes the drag shoot, and then alternating 5 minutes easy, 5 minutes drag shoot, doing things by time and kind of rounding it up, rounding it down. It doesn't have to be exactly 5 minutes. It's kind of whenever you get to the wall, and just every once in a while looking at your watch while you swim. And when doing drag shoot, alternating breathing, cadence is higher, so you can do you can breathe both sides and get enough bilateral breathing, and that works things evenly, straightens out your stroke. And then working on towards the end was getting high elbow and on the catch, Sun Yang style. I'm really working it, man. Really, I got a little bit of shoulder pain, so I got to be careful with the push run. And then when just doing regular swimming, regular freestyle, breathing right side mostly, and then on occasion left side. So interesting stuff that happened during that workout. Well, see, first off, last night I was going to run, and then I decided not to. And I decided to stay true with my running, not taking breaks every other day while I'm still healing, and not running every day in a row, because I just felt like it. Felt kind of tired, and feet hurt. And then we got a new recliner chair, and so I was busy propping my feet up in that anyway and kicking back. And never had one in my entire life, and now I got a recliner chair, and I'm just like, oh man, this is rad. And then woke up. The downside, I woke up and weighed myself and gained a couple pounds, and it's because I did eat like I was gonna go work out later. I ate at like 6 o'clock as if that I was gonna go run. And then I never ran. And then I woke up this morning, I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't run last night. And, oh man. There was a guy in the lane next to me while I was swimming, a guy I've never seen before, or that I didn't recognize. And looked like a younger guy, probably in his 20s, skinny. And he was doing something that was really, one thing that was really cool that people need to know about if you're not doing it, is you can print out your workout on paper, write it on paper, and I say make a copy of it, and always have copies of it and keep it in a Ziploc. But anyway, stick it to a kickboard or the edge of the pool, one or the other. But he was looking at his kickboard with a paper, water makes it stick to it. Really nice. And then because his workout seemed really complicated, he was doing this and then resting, and then doing that and then resting, and then he was doing stuff where he was getting out and then running on the deck, like running in place, and then swimming back in, and then fast and slow and da-da-da. And then one time he tried swimming faster than me, which he did plenty of times, but one time we were going the same speed, and then I was like, dude, I gotta show this guy that I'm fast. Which is what happens in the pool. It's pretty funny. Whenever you get two people side by side, people start speeding up, especially dudes. And then, so that was really cool. The workout on the side of the pool, doing swimming and then getting out and running. But also I wanted to share the contrast in some of what he was doing looked like sprint work. It was kind of hard to tell because I'm kind of focused on my own thing. But the difference in what works, what I'm doing, and what so many other people do for swimming is so different. The contrast is so huge. And what he was doing and what so many people are doing is great for short distance swimming. And we're talking 50s, 100s, 200s, maybe up to 400s and 800s. But and I don't know what he's racing, what his specialty is. He may be training for a sprint triathlon, and then that's perfect, right? No big deal. But I seem to be the only person that I know of that is swimming like how we train for long distance endurance on the bike and on the run, which is in my opinion, I used to swim the fast way and then the short distance way, and then I switched over from the long distance way. I'm much happier doing it. But I came upon it upon my own, and I never see anybody else doing this. But I took what works on the bike and on the run, and especially on the bike, and then moved it over to swimming because the results are so impressive on the bike. And it is long, sustained efforts of hard with a little bit of lactic burn in it. So the jewel in the crown of endurance training on the bike is, for Ironman, for example, is 20-minute intervals. And just as many of them as you can do, 20 minutes. And it's because they're longer and they teach your muscles to endure sustained exposure to a heavier load. And that lifts your FTP, if your functional threshold power. It lifts what you can sustain for an hour by doing 20-minute intervals. Turns out an Ironman swim is about an hour if you're fast. And even if you're not fast, it's still like an hour 10, hour 20, hour 30, right? So it's not that much different. And so why aren't we doing in the pool longer intervals with sustained, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 effort level? And I just can't seem to find anybody else that's doing it. And I keep preaching it, and it keeps working. And still, it's kind of like how Greg LeMond was like, hey, we could use aero bars in this race. And then people are like, yeah. But why would you? That's terrible. No one else does that. And he's like, yeah, but it's faster. And like, well, no one else does that. And he's like, but it's faster. Yeah, but no one else does that. And he's like, okay, but I can do it. And they said, yeah. And then he goes, okay. And then he did it. And then he won the Tour de France because it's faster. His swimming is so entrenched with this, what works for swim team, for swim meets, for the, for the 100. And getting people to even consider doing what I've been doing and really works is just impossible. I know you guys are. You're thinking about it. Listen to it because y'all listen. But when I post about it in places, I just get like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna. People will go, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So I was swimming side by side with somebody, and the difference was so crazy. I was doing 5 minutes easy, 5 minutes hard because the drag chute makes it hard. Basically like a 5-minute hill. And then very little rest. Because on the bike, that's exactly what you do. You do 5 minutes easy, 5-minute hill, 5 minute easy, 5-minute hill, right? Or 5 minutes easy, 10-minute hill, whatever. But you don't get off your bike and walk around the room, or you out on the road. You don't get on your bike and then walk around. Imagine that. That would be crazy. Or you're on a longer run. You don't stop and then walk around and look at a piece of paper for a while. You keep going, and that builds up mileage, and it builds up, body awareness and stuff. So he's doing sprints, resting at the wall, sprints, resting at the wall, and I was doing essentially never stop. I'm stopping long enough to either put a drag chute on or drag chute off, and then go right back into what I was doing. That's a lot. Half the time going right back into what I was doing was easy. Was just push off, and then start swimming easy freestyle to recover from the hard work and let the lactic acid, get out of my body, or metabolize, get out of the way, and then feel fresh again, so I could do another long sustained effort. And anyway, that was crazy that to be side by side with somebody doing it differently. But then I found that when you're out there for an hour plus during an Ironman swim, or half an hour plus for a half Ironman swim, you can sustain the 8 out of 10 effort that you put down so easily, because you're used to doing 5 minutes of 9 out of 10. So you back it off a little bit, man, you could do it for an hour. It's so great. Oh man, it's the best. I love it. And you don't have to memorize any workouts. You don't have to sit there and try to think of what to do next. And your yardage just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up because you're not stopping. Okay, that's the end of my rant on that. Anyway, there's a really old guy. Well, he's not really that old, but he's a retired older guy that's, I shouldn't have said that, really old guy. He's not at all. He's probably 70, maybe 67 or 65. But anyway, and he does Ironmans and everything. He's got type 2 diabetes, and we talk in the locker room because he kind of just came down with it, and from heavy exposure to lots of carbs and simple carbs through 20 years of doing triathlon. And he found a new kind of insulin that he really likes, that they chain it together, the insulin molecules, and it's terse something. And the way I remember it is by Toshiba TV. So it sounds kind of like Toshiba TV, whatever it is. So and he said it was new on the market. It was new to him at least. So if you have type 2 diabetes and you want better blood sugar control, it's got like a slower release. Go check that out. That was pretty cool. And we were talking about vitiligo, which is autoimmune. Your body attacks your own melanin cells, which I've got a bit of on my face. It shows up if I'm in the sun a lot. You can see it. A lot of times people can't even tell, but it's there, and it's from stress. And I said that it seemed to start coming up when I started trying to do low carb, high fat, low carb, and the stress on the body of training without enough carbs and the bonking really, really hard and stuff, just trying too hard may have done it, because low carb can disrupt your thyroid system. So you got to watch out for that. If you're doing low carb and then doing triathlon training, you can stress the fuck out of your body and then cause autoimmune attack. My wife's got type 1 diabetes, the beautiful Emily, ZenTri nurse, and she got it. That's an autoimmune where your body freaks out, and that could have been caused by the stress. She got it right when we got married. So she was in school trying to graduate, and we were getting married, and something else. She had gotten sick with something else, and all that stress together they think might have caused it. There's also a virus that causes, they think, type 1 diabetes, but the virus could be present all the time, and then the stress weakens you, and then the virus has an opportunity to actually attack. It's complicated. They don't know yet. Be nice if it's a virus, they could develop a vaccine for it, but they don't. If it is a virus, they're not sure which one it is. But anyway, that's it. That was my crazy morning workout. A lot of stuff going through my mind. Anyway, more in a bit. Bang. All right, it is Monday morning. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but Friday evening, I went out for a run, and I was doing my 3-loop thing. And after about halfway through my second loop, I was feeling really good, and I thought I would try to beat Kai's lap time. And he ran, I think, a 7:21 pace for just over 2 miles, which was like high 15 minutes total. And I ran the loop almost as fast as I could. I mean, I was chugging along, just trying to keep it in mind. I'm like, you're 43, don't have a heart attack. You never know. Just be cool. And so I was holding back just a tiny bit, but I was so stoked that I beat his time. And I beat it by, I wish I only beat it by a couple seconds. And next time maybe I'll try to figure out how to time myself better. But I beat his time by 22 seconds or something like that. If I beat it by just a second or two, then he would, feel like it's easy to go back and beat me. But anyway, I ran a 7:11 pace for the 2.2 miles. It's got a little hill, not much, just gentle hills. And I was super excited. So that was Friday night. And I told him, and he got all like, what? I'm going to go out there and beat you. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then Saturday morning, he and I went mountain biking, and it was awesome. I let him lead. And it's frustrating at first because I want him to go faster. But by the end, he tried to sneak attack, which meant that he felt good. And we did almost 2 hours, an hour and 52 minutes. And he snuck attack around while we were climbing up a hill. I was videoing him behind me because he looked so pro. And he, it's on Instagram, the moment where he drops me on the climb, and I'm all trying to put my phone away to try to catch him. And that was awesome. That was such an awesome bike ride. That was Saturday morning. I think Saturday evening. Oh, we went to go see Wonder Woman, which was a really good movie. And you can tell it was directed by a woman because women just have such a knack for a gift for making things sustainable, and things have quality and community and depth and sustainability. And Wonder Woman was just like any other action hero movie, but with all those things I just mentioned interwoven in it, just almost imperceptibly. But it was there. If you know what you're looking for, you see it. And I highly recommend it. And it's Emily's favorite superhero. She loves Wonder Woman. And we were like, the only thing that was missing was Linda Carter should have been in it as like the old queen or something like that. I don't know why. Maybe there's some legal thing or something. But anyway. And then we had Linda Carter was the old Wonder Woman and was a knockout whenever she was doing it back in the day, in the 70s and early 80s maybe. And then Sunday morning I went for a long bike ride and did 3 hours on the dot. Got a 3-hour route made out, which is perfect. Loved it. I made an Instagram video and posted it of my bike setup, and it was a 4-minute plus long video. And then I realized Instagram only allows you to do 1 minute at a time, so I had to make 4 minutes, and it got a little maddening. But it's under some trees, just relaxed out there. I was cooling down from biking, so I could put on some sunscreen and let the sweat evaporate a little bit before I put on all the sunscreen. And then it was really hot. Oh, there's lots of details in there. In that you got to go check out the videos on how to set up your bike for long hot rides, especially in the summer. Long bike rides, long hot rides. And then in the afternoon and evening, I was doing coaching and catching up on stuff. And I was listening to a podcast, Trail Runner Nation. And one of the interviews was this guy, I think he's Serbian or something like that. And he's got a really cool accent. He lives in Canada, though. And they were talking all about him barefoot running and stuff. And I used to barefoot run a bunch. I was big into it. I loved it. It's what turned me into almost a decent runner, was discovering how my body likes that kind of running form way better. I won like a charity 5K one time barefoot in the brick streets of Tyler, and I think my longest ever barefoot run was 10 miles. But I used to go out barefoot run all the time. I'm pretty much addicted to it, where I didn't want to run in regular shoes because I'd gotten so used to barefoot running. It was so nice. And I don't think I'll ever go all the way back to that because I ended up almost getting one of the sesamoid bone. I got my sesamoid bone in my left foot kind of inflamed, and it's hard to tell if it was cycling or running that did it. But and that's fine right now, so I don't want to mess with it too much. But anyway, listen to that. It got me inspired and got me stupid. And I went out and barefoot ran my 6-mile loop. And first lap was fine, and second lap started to burn. And third lap was really burning on my foot. Oh, there was a copperhead snake a couple days ago, big ass one. They're always out there, so that was kind of fun. That was the challenge, and of am I brave enough to run where there's snakes? But anyway, I don't have pain as far as like impact, but because I've barefoot run forever, it's just been a while. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. You learn the form. It's the friction actually gets you for a little bit. I think I ran 6.5 miles barefoot last night. And only one time did I step on something that I was like, ow, and I had to stop. And that actually rarely happens when you run barefoot. I can do 10 runs and never step on anything. But anyway, so that was fun. And that was late last night. So anyway, I go this morning to go swim, and I can tell that I'm just fatigued and my pace is off. I was going to do an hour continuous, even though I was wide awake and ready to go. And I think I was just cashed out from my lungs being tired from all the working out this weekend. Although I did probably a couple hours more than I usually have. And one thing faster, that fast run trying to beat Kai's time. And so my lower body, my lungs were a little bit cooked and my lower body was a little bit cooked, my legs. I think I did 4 hours yesterday, over 4 hours of working out. That's a lot, That's a jump from like 2 hours. Doing a lot of stuff around the house because we're moving. And so I got halfway through my swim and I go, man, this sucks, because I was struggling. And I said, oh, so I grabbed a pool boy. And I made an Instagram video of it after my swim. I made it this morning. And put that between my legs and then swam. And that takes the load off your legs, for one thing. And it frees up energy for your lungs, and it allows you to work your arms, which is why I was there in the first place. My legs are tired, man. I don't need to do anything else with them. And also, it allows the water to heal your legs. You're not really using them, but they're in the water. And yeah, it really focuses the energy on your arms, but also improves your glide and improves your form. And I got an idea, man. Let me know. Send me a message on Twitter if you think so too. Monday mornings, or your first swim, if it's Monday or maybe even Tuesday, after a big weekend of training, maybe it should be, pull boy pretty much only, to take the load off your legs. Your legs are already tired, and you want to work your upper body instead, if you didn't swim over the weekend. And over the weekend, we tend to bike and run a lot. And I thought I was like really smart. I was like, oh man, this is pretty educated there, Coach Brett. Coach yourself. All right, that's it. I need to go into W to the ERK, have some coffee. All right, out, bang. All right, I am in front of my house. Just finished a morning run. It's Tuesday, and wow. I've been doing the ketones for a few days, supplemental ketones, adding them in, noticing that they do suppress appetite somewhat. And you take it with some MCT oil, and it gives you more ketones and slows them down a little bit, because if you take them unopposed, then they'll act really fast. 15 minutes in, you'll feel buzz, and then it'll wear off in about an hour. And I want them to last a little bit longer. So, got up this morning, cup of coffee, scoop of perfect keto chocolate salt. I found some that are half that price, so stay tuned on that. I need to test those out. But anyway, chocolate sea salt is actually pretty good with coffee. Makes your coffee taste like hot cocoa with a drip of gasoline in it and salt. And Oh, and then after that, a scoop of UCAN with water. Drink that down and went out for a run. And what I've noticed, I've been doing this a few times. I went for a 3-hour bike ride on this same formula with no breakfast. Went almost as fast as I usually do. But noticed just easy breathing, relaxed, chill. And I'm running my old route, which is making me happy. It's got some hills in it. Feeling really, really good. So I'm definitely out there saying that ketones are a fuel. And I'm too new to it to really explain it much more. Supplemental ketones, where you buy them and take them. But you definitely feel them. And I'm definitely having a good time. I'm able to do workouts without any extra carbs. And it feels nice. I had a PR swim on it. Broke my little swim record. I think I mentioned that. And yeah. So it definitely gets you over the hump of if you want to go ketosis for a little bit, then usually if you just try to get into ketosis by going low carb, high fat, you would get these angst and not feeling good. And this you feel good. And then I think it trains your body to start using ketones. So I think that's it. I'm about to go into the house and hear all the birds. We moved to a place with a lot more birds. Oh, they just got quiet. Okay, out, bing. All right, cool, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Let's see, next week I am going to scout camp in Bastrop, Texas. I'm in charge of a Boy Scout troop. I'm going to teach them how to be badasses out in the woods, mostly. It's the younger group, and I'm in charge of them. So mostly I'm teaching them how not to kill themselves or each other or cut themselves with pocket knives, and how to burn their own tents down, especially with them in it, and how to eat enough and drink enough in the Texas summer heat. It's in the pine forest, which is pretty cool, to stay cool and earn some merit badges and have fun and have adventures together. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So a full week of that kind of stuff. No biking or running, really, unless I can sneak away and run. But since I'm the one in charge of our troop, there's going to be a whole bunch of troops there, then I really can't get away for that long. So I may be taking a break from working out for a week. I won't even know what to do with myself. That's more like 5-6 days. So that'll be super cool. And on that note, I might be going to San Diego again later this summer. And on a whole other note, I got an email from Vasa, who does the dry land swim trainer, and we're talking about maybe striking up a deal where I can get some time on one and promote it on the show. I'm a big believer in those things, doing resistance training to improve your swim. And getting to the pool is a real pain in the ass, and getting in the pool is even more of a pain in the ass. And then if you can do pretty much what makes you stronger in swimming right at your house or at the gym, then I'm all for it. So we're going to stay tuned, and we're going to see what pans out with that. Hopefully we can strike up a deal. That'll be pretty cool. And also, I'm really enjoying my Suunto Spartan Ultra. They just did a software update and added more features to it. I went back to using my Garmin for a couple of days, and I missed my Spartan. Spartan is so professional looking. I wear it at work. It's glossy and all black. It's pretty cool. Look very executive with that thing on. And the Bluetooth alerts on it are spectacular. All right, so that is it. Everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.
home.